Happy Tuesday, everybody. Welcome to the Sean O'Connell Show. Glad to have you with us, as is always the case. The show today and every day is brought to you by Big Willie's, Utah's #1 sports bar at 1717 South Main. Craft cocktails, delicious food, a beautiful pool hall, televisions everywhere the eye can see with the action you're looking for in football, baseball, basketball, hockey, MMA, boxing, golf. They've got it all. Check them out. Tell them OC sent you. Lunch specials every single day. Swing by. Instead of going to some crappy fast food joint, go to Big Willie's, watch a game or two, and take advantage of the lunch special. It's a ton of food. It's really well made, delicious food. Great, fresh ingredients. They tweak the menu every week, and they've got their staples as well. But you're going to leave satisfied, satiated, and your wallet is going to thank you because the lunch specials are $14 or $15 every day. All right. As promised by the promo that we record every day, we have another number over under today. I'm trying to make these things compelling. I'm trying to make these things interesting for you. And you know, Utah, we focused on the offense so far. We're going to stay focused on the offense for a little while. At the end of the day, I think a lot of what you see from Utah in the passing game is going to determine their success for this 2025 season. But, you know, stranger things have happened. You could have a mediocre passing year and still end up being in the conference championship hunt. We shall see. Gordy Chase is going to drop by in about half an hour. Jeff Schwartz is going to drop by in an hour and a half. And then Trey Fitzgerald to talk Leagues Cup action and RSL being back in the Western Conference race for the MLS playoffs. All of that coming on the show. Last year, the University of Utah was good for 2,393 total passing yards on the season. Now, Devin Dampier was not the most prolific passer, even in his own conference. The appeal for him has been the total offense that he was able to produce at New Mexico. And he's a guy that has to improve in the passing game. I think is going to improve in the passing game, even if he wasn't at Utah behind a better offensive line. And we'll talk about the weapons at his disposal here in just a minute. I think just the additional year of experience, I think the familiarity in the offense, I think the maturity that comes, the college football maturity that comes with being the guy, knowing you're the guy, knowing that it is your job and that there's not really a quarterback battle happening in fall camp. Not that there was at New Mexico last year, but you get better and better every year. You're supposed to get better and better every year as a college football player. So, for Devin Dampier to add to his success in the passing game, I think is just sort of a natural progression, regardless of whether or not you're at a better place with a better staff of, well, it's the same staff, but with a better collection of players around you to help you get better, okay? So 2,393 is not conference championship contending type numbers. If you want to talk about the numbers required to truly compete for conference championships, and it depends on what conference you're competing in, of course, but we're looking at 3,000 yards plus for the University of Utah. So we're playing over-under, passing yards for the year. Now, I asked you yesterday if your leading receiver is going to be responsible for 692.5 yards. All right? The Mason-Dixon line, the line of demarcation for passing, if you have a good run game and you have a good defense, is right around that 3,000-yard mark. So we're going 2,999, all right? 2,999.5 yards. Are you taking the over or the under on Utah's passing game producing 2,995 yards? Now, remember, let's put this in context just a little bit. The most optimistic projections from inside that building and on that roster, you've got guys saying, well, Devin Dampier behind this offensive line is going to do exactly what he did last year. He's going to be at least a 2,000-yard passer and at least a 1,000-yard rusher. He's going to be responsible for at least 3,000 yards. If you're talking about 3,000 yards of passing and 1,000 yards of rushing, you're talking about Devin Dampier being a 4,000-yard player, assuming that he's the guy who generates all that passing for you. There is the Isaac Wilson option in backup situations. There is the Bird Ficklin option in the backup situations.
Nate Johnson out of the Wildcat.
I don't know we're going to see Nate Johnson throw a lot of passes, if I'm being honest, but Nate Johnson is going to be part of this offense.
He may account for at least 1,000 of that out of the Wildcat. I don't know.
That is a lofty and insane projection, but okay. Devin Dampier said he wants to be a 6,000-yard offense, right? So if you have any hope of that, if you want to even scratch the surface of that being in the conversation, you probably need like 3,500 yards of passing. You probably need closer to like 3,800 yards of passing, although I do think this is going to be a very proficient run game. But let's take the most optimistic projections from inside the building, from players themselves saying, well, I think I could be a 1,000-yard rusher. Okay, your quarterback said that. And then Wayshawn Parker said he wants to be at least a 1,500-yard rusher.
He guaranteed 1,000, but he said
he did guarantee 1,000.
15. He guaranteed 1,000.
I don't like guarantees, Wayshawn. Don't do that.
15 was his ultimate goal. Really, his ultimate goal is to beat out Devontae Booker, who same high school, by the way, in Northern California. So that's his ultimate goal, is to beat out Devin Booker's mark here at the University of Utah. But 1,500 is what he cited.
So let's say, like, the best case scenario, that's what happens for Wayshawn Parker. Now you're talking about, okay, that's 2,500 yards between two players, but again,
would be insane.
Like, sprinkle in 500 yards from the also-rans, the other guys that are going to get carries, and now you're talking about 3,000 yards as a rushing team. And your passing number could come down to 3,000. It's just, if you want to be a 6,000-yard offense, most of that's got to come through the air. And you would have to increase the production from last year's passing season, which, of course, was disastrous. And more importantly, you'd have to increase the production from Devin Dampier's passing game, like his arm talent, what he is producing in the offense. And I want to tell you, I want to make this clear. I am probably more optimistic about what Devin Dampier is going to be in a Utah uniform than even the most crimson-tinted, goggle-wearing Ute fan out there, because I hear the way Devin Dampier's previous coaches talk about him. Not like why didn't he come to Utah State with us? Oh, my gosh, I can't believe that these kids these days are always trying to climb the ladder and move to a different spot, and it's all about taking money and things like that. The praise with which even defensive coaches from that New Mexico staff, there's a reverence to the tone almost about like how special of a kid Devin Dampier is, because they're fewer and farther between than they used to be in college football, right? This era especially has taken away a lot of that team first mentality, or not taken it away, but altered it, has taken away that yes sir, no sir kind of a mentality, because you're now a professional athlete. If you're a starting quarterback, even in Division I football, much less Power 4, Power 5 football, you're a professional athlete. You're making more money than a lot. Devin Dampier is making more money this year for the University of Utah than anyone who coached him at New Mexico did last year, with the exception of Bronco Mendenhall, right? And last year, by the way,
just wait till that $5,000 bonus kicks in for Bronco.
Hello. If he can beat BYU,
if he beats BYU,
$5,000 to Bronco for beating. No, that alters the relationship that players have. It's why in the NFL there's a different sort of a relationship between quarterbacks, especially, but between players and coaches. Not that there's an interruption of the chain of command or there's a difference in authority, but it's like you don't talk about people and say, wow, he's special. I'm proud of him. He's like a son to me. He's like a nephew to me. I really think he's going to be something special when he grows into himself. In the NFL, they don't say that kind of stuff because they're just like, that guy is already a grown-up. That guy is making $15 million, $30 million, $50 million. That guy better damn well be a grown-up, right? In college football, we're getting away from this like, oh, my gosh, my responsibility as a coach is not only to make sure he's a good football player, but to make sure he's a good human being. And we want to hold on to it. Every coaching staff wants to keep it. Every player wants to keep it. But the reality of it is a lot of these guys have 2, 3, 4 coaches, even position coaches or head coaches during their careers. You don't have the same level of relationship. You don't have the same time to spend with someone to impress them with your character and show them who you truly are. And the New Mexico staff did not have a ton of time with Devin Dampier, but guess what? In that short time, all of them have been like, wow, look at him. And what have you heard from every Utah coach when they talk about Devin? He was on campus for 2 weeks before his teammates decided, yeah, that could be a captain for us. And again, that's partially a product of the position itself. That's partially a product of the new era in college football, but it's mostly Devin Dampier being that dude, being a guy that can relate to everybody on the staff, relate to everybody on the team, that shows up first, leaves last, etc. So my optimism for Utah football's offense with Devin Dampier behind center is probably more unrealistic and insane than even the crazy posting on message board type fans.
So you're saying 5,000 yards passing for Devin Dampier.
With that being said, I still think it's a huge ask to tell someone who is a dual threat quarterback, right?
And if we're being honest, is probably much better as a runner than a thrower at this point.
He's more instinctual as a runner. He has a little bit better grasp on what the defense is doing when he's got the ball in his hand and he's running with it than when he's trying to look downfield and understand cover. At least that's what the tape shows so far. But again, he's been improving behind the scenes for these last several months, and he's been doing it under the tutelage of a guy who totally understands him now. And our hope is he's now doing it with better weapons at his disposal, with more efficient offensive talent around him. But still, you're asking a guy with this number, 29.95, right? 2,999 yards, 0.5. If you hit the over, you go 3,000 yards. You're asking him to add 2.5 games worth of production in the same number of snaps over what he had last year. You're asking him, I need an extra 700-ish yards out of you in the passing game over what you had last year, when, by the way, you were one of the most proficient offensive gainers at the quarterback position in college football. You're saying to him, I love what you did with the number 4 offense in the country, but I want you to do that plus. I want you to do that in a different way. I want you to do that with more of your arm involved. I want you – oh, no. We still need those offensive yards from you on the ground, but I also want you to give me an extra 700-plus yards through the air. That's a big, big ask. And I'm optimistic he's capable of it, but I don't think it's a guarantee by any stretch of the imagination. And I also, and this is maybe even a bigger deal, I don't know that it's a requirement for Utah to end up being in the conference championship hunt. I think we're going to get down to like week 9, and there's going to be 4 or 5 teams still involved. There'll probably be one that we didn't expect, and there'll probably be 3 or 4 that we did. And I think they're all going to be kind of battling it out at the top like we had last year, where heading into week 9, it was like, well, is Kansas going to beat BYU and knock them out of the whole equation? Is Kansas State going to be there? Is Iowa State going to be there? Colorado still has a shot if they just get things dialed in. And Arizona State looks like they're running away with it, right? If Utah's going to be in that rodeo toward the end of the season, it's going to require an improvement in the passing game from Devin Dampier. But how significant is a reasonable ask? And that's why I came up with that number for 2 reasons. Because it's a lot to say from one player, I need this from you. But it's also, again, we'll go back, Utah's offensive passing numbers to put it in context for you. 2016, 2,800 yards passing on 53% completions. Not ideal, right? The next year, 2017, 32-42 on 61% completions. 2018, again, now you're competing for conference championships in the Pac-12 with these numbers. You're there. You're in the hunt. You're in that mix. You're in the game. 3,021 yards on 61%. 2019, 3,187. And that year, you were incredibly efficient. 9.9 yards per attempt. That is a sexy, sexy number. The late, great John Pease, his goal, one of his many goals as a defensive coach all the time, was like, you got to keep them under that 7 yards per completion. If you see something like 9.9 yards per attempt, wow, that's a great, great number. That might be the best number Utah's ever had if we go all the way back.
Is that where your affinity for and your preference towards yards per play comes from? Is that influenced by the great
100%.
John Pease?
I was fortunate enough when John Pease was finished coaching at the University of Utah, he spent time with us doing post-game shows. And I was hosting those post-game shows and pregame, and we would talk about like what it really takes to win, 4 turnovers and a score.
4 and a score.
You're getting the win.
That's what I think of with
right?
John Pease. Yeah.
And that obviously that's an easy one. It rhymes.
Yeah.
Mnemonic device, 4 and a score, boom, you're in.
And it's like, well, yeah, 4 turnovers is quite a bit, and your defense scores. Like, of course you're going to win.
Yeah. Right? That's a perfect defensive game.
Yeah.
A more realistic defensive goal is like you have got to make sure that when this team drops back to pass, that they're not getting more than 7 yards per attempt. Because again, put that in context with a Utah defense, right? Teams don't do this the way they used to, but you run on first down, no gain. You run on second down, a yard or 2. Against a Utah defense, how good they are every year against the run, now you're talking about 3rd and long. He doesn't want 3rd and long to be manageable for teams. He wants, all right, on average, your passing plays are not going to get you that first down against my defense, right? So for Utah in 2019 to be getting not a touchdown, a first down every passing play, basically, that's amazing. You didn't see that in the COVID year that you throw away. 7.5 yards per attempt on 2021 conference championship, 3,000 passing yards exactly.
Wow.
All right? So they just hit the over on the question we're asking today.
Of course, 2 different quarterbacks, because Cam didn't start all the games, so you got to take that in consideration that year.
2022, 34.89. 7.8 yards per attempt. Again, that's 9.9 is not something that Utah is going to achieve most years. If you're 7 yards per attempt plus for the University of Utah, you're probably in good shape. 2023, bad year. 2024, bad year. 6.6 and 6.7 yards per attempt.
Still, almost 7.
As a run-first team that Utah is always going to be, even this year, they're going to be that, right? As a run-first team, this time with some spread concepts in there, 7 yards per attempt. But how many attempts are you going to have? Well, you're going to have as many as the offense dictates because of your proficiency and your completion percentage. And the yardage that you end up needing, I think, to be in that conference championship hunt is right around that 3,000-yard mark. It's not an unreasonable ask, but it is something that would be a big improvement for Devin and a big improvement, more importantly, for the University of Utah offense.
I did not realize that it was over 6.5 yards per play the last 2 years, OC. I would have guessed it would have been much lower than that. But as I think back on the last couple of years, it wasn't necessarily moving the ball down the field that was the offense's problem. It was finishing the job and getting it in the end zone. Obviously, they didn't move the ball as well as they did in the 2 years previous when Cam was starting on Pac-12 championship teams, but they moved it pretty well. So yeah, I guess that makes sense that it was still close to that 7 yards per game mark.
And I'm trying to put these numbers in context for you as I ask you for over or under 2,999.5 yards in your passing offense for Utah this coming season. I'm not asking you to be the most productive passing offense in the Big 12 Conference. Last year, James, who was the most proficient passer or passing team in the Big 12?
The Iowa State?
It was Colorado.
Colorado, of course.
4,134 yards. Yeah. It goes Colorado, TCU, Texas Tech, Iowa State, Baylor, Arizona State, your eventual conference champion, had 3,200 yards through the air. Okay?
Yeah, and Sam Leavitt is getting a lot of hype this year, but he was not. That makes sense that they were not that close to the top because they did not rely on Sam Leavitt near as much as they're going to this year.
6th best in the conference, but guess what their yards per attempt was? 8.4, second best in the conference, behind only Colorado, who was incredibly one-dimensional, and of course Arizona State was anything but because they had that run game behind Cam Scatterbo. BYU,
what was that? 3 of them before contact with Cam Scatterbo, 5 yards after contact. It seemed like that guy just dragged people.
Just a freak. Arizona State was 6th best in, this is just yardage production. Oklahoma State, bottom dweller in the conference, still gave you 3,147 passing yards. BYU, in the best season they've had in recent memory, just over 3,000 yards. For Utah to come in with 3,000 yards this year, if you compare it to last year's number, that's good enough for 9th best in the conference. I'm asking you to be right in the middle of the pack. We've done this with a lot of the numbers so far. I don't need an improvement that puts you number 1 or number 2. I'm talking about, can you get to the middle of the pack offensively with your passing game total yardage production? 3,000 yards. If you hit the over, if you hit the under, by the way, for teams that hit the under and still were really good, BYU just barely on the north side of that line of demarcation. Arizona was under. Cincinnati was under. Kansas State was one of the best teams in the conference, and they had 27-48. So 250 yards shy, basically.
Yeah, that speaks to Avery Johnson is like Devin Dampier, a guy who is more effective, at least so far, been more effective with his legs than with his arms. So that speaks to that. That's a good comparison for Utah football this season.
Kansas State is 11th from last year. Then it's West Virginia, Kansas, who's a really hard team to evaluate because they basically played 2 different seasons last year. UCF, best running team in the conference, was not proficient through the air, 23.96. Utah was 15th in the conference last year in total yardage through the air, 23.93 as I mentioned. And Houston was dead last with 1,832 yards. Houston and Utah and Arizona were the teams that had fewer than 7 yards per attempt.
So I think you made a good number there to get to 9th based on last year's stats in the conference, because from 10th through 16th, there's only one winning team in there. That's Kansas State. Kansas looked like a winning team at the end of the year, but ultimately they ended up with a losing record because of how bad their start was. So that's from that perspective too, OC, that seems to be a good place for Utah's offense to be through the air.
So 877-353-0700 on the text line, at Real OC Sports on Twitter. Tell me if you think Utah's going to hit the over or you're okay with the under. It's not a panic move if you hit the under, because you could be an outlier like Kansas State. You could be in that BYU neighborhood. I mean, BYU barely north of 3,000 yards last year was a good team, 11-win team. Of course, they didn't end up in the conference championship game because of tiebreakers and craziness like that. So I just think
they're like two plays away from being in the conference championship game, maybe being conference champions, because their two losses were that close. So that's a good spot to be in. And then it's also, if you compare to BYU's season last year, you would hope that Utah's defense forces the turnovers that BYU's defense did last year too, OC. An improvement in that area from last season. As good as Utah's defense was last year, they did not quite you talk about 4 and a score. They were not close to that in most games. And there's different reasons for that. It wasn't because they weren't good at, just simply that the guys weren't good at forcing turnovers. There were injuries and everything else. But if they improve on that number the way they want to, you don't necessarily need as much from the offense in that case.
New Mexico's passing numbers were good enough for 5th in the Mountain West Conference last year with 27.68, 7.1 yards per attempt. So just barely in that green or in the black, whichever you want to use the financial term or whatever, right? So New Mexico, again, you're not going to be a 4,000-yard passing offense. You're just not. Can you be a 3,000-yard passing offense? I think if you can, you're in the neighborhood for a special season. I think if you're at 2,700, even though it doesn't seem like that's a huge gap, I think that's disastrous for the University of Utah, right? Because you extrapolate that out, that's 4 first downs a game at least that you can't get through the air, that you probably need it. Utah football, 2,999.5 yards. I'm taking the over because I think you have to hit that over in order to be in the conversation for a conference championship. If you're Utah, I think that the under and the teams that were still in a good situation with the under, it's not a sustainable model. It's not a model you can plan around. And while Utah realistically could have the best run game in the Big 12 Conference this year. And if they do, we're probably okay with 2750. But I was told, actually, this happened a long time ago. There was a moment in my life where I thought I was going to join the military. And I went and I did the ASVAB test, and I thought I was really awesome because I scored incredibly high on the ASVAB. I'm really good at standardized tests, James. I don't know if you are, but like
I'm all right.
SAT, ACT, like anything that they were like, we have designed these tests for middle-class white people. Like, I really, really, really excel in those tests, right?
What a brag there.
And the ASVAB, I smashed it on the ASVAB, right?
So you would have been amazing at the Wonderlic.
So I was sitting down and I was feeling really cool talking to this recruiter, right? And I was like, well, if I'm going to join, I want to be like, I want to be like a Navy SEAL. I want to be an Army Ranger or whatever.
Punch sharks.
And he was like, okay, well, if you want it, like the way that it was, he was like, with your score and having a college degree, you want to be an officer. You got to go to officers candidate school. And I was just like, all right, well, no problem. He's like, here's the thing, though. If you only want to do those jobs, you have to be in the top 5% of your boot camp class in order to be able to choose your job. As an officer, we assign you to where we need you. And the only way you get to choose for yourself is you're in the top 5%. And I was just like, okay, no problem.
You're like, did you see my ASVAB? I can get top 5.
And this guy was awesome. He was just like, don't plan on that. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, do not plan on being in the top 5 performer.
And you said, I have no time for your loser's mentality.
I didn't say that.
Army recruiter.
It was a really sobering thing because, again, this was post-ASVAB where I'm thinking I'm the genius. I'm thinking like, oh, the Army would be lucky to have me. And he was like, hey, dude, don't count on it. I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, you're going to be in there with these 18-year-old machines who don't get tired, and they're going to run the PT test, and they're going to.
You're late 20s, mid 20s.
I was early 20s.
Early 20s,
well,
okay.
Mid 20s, and he's like, you're going to be. These guys are freaks, and they don't have anything else to worry about. He's like, don't count on having a top, a top percentage score coming out of boot camp. I was like, what the heck? And obviously, that's not the path my life took, so it didn't. But the reason that I bring that up is because I was told, and I will remember it till the day I die, like, you can believe in yourself all you want, but you should never, ever, ever plan around, make a decision based on the assumption that you are going to be the best at something when there's competition. You don't know what you're up against. You just don't, right? There's always a better swimmer. There's always a faster runner. There's always some 150-pound kid who can do 1,000 pull-ups. There's always something, and there's always somebody smarter than you. So for Utah to be like, all right, well, we can set our expectation for passing yardage at 2750 because we're going to assume we're the number 1 rushing offense in the Big 12 Conference. Don't you dare do it.
UCF, a new head coach, but UCF could do what they did last year under Scott with the new head coach under Scott Frost, and they could be a losing team again, but they could still be way better than you on the ground.
And especially, by the way, the run game. I again, because your quarterback is such a good runner, and because I really think Wayshawn Parker, who we've got some news about him, we'll get to later in the show today, is a monster, and because primarily your offensive line should be one of the best in the entire country. We'll talk with Jeff Schwartz about that coming up here in an hour. I think you could project really good run numbers, but don't you ever assume you're number 1, ever. Don't plan around filling a deficiency that could exist in your passing game because your run game is that good. You just don't do it. Prepare for the worst. Now, expect for the worst, prepare for the best.
You had it. Expect the best, prepare for the worst.
Yeah. Anyway. Gordy Chase is going to swing by the San Antonio Spurs, backed up a Brinks truck. Damian Lillard is going to be spending, hopefully, a little bit more time in Ogden. We'll talk about all of it with our resident NBA guru, Gordy Chiesa, next on the Sean O'Connell Show. ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. Gordy Chiesa joins us on the Sean O'Connell Show. We're going to give him the summer off after Thursday. We'll see him here in studio on Thursday, and then we'll let him enjoy the rest of his summer. Gordy, welcome to the show today. How are you?
Sean, I'm doing fine. Thank you.
I want to talk about Damian Lillard, GM of Weber State basketball. We've seen this with several players in the NBA where they kind of attach themselves to their alma mater or to a university, mostly as a face, as a figurehead. Dame's going to have a little bit more free time this next year than your average NBA player will. What do you expect his impact on Weber State hoops to be?
Tremendous. First thing is he's a 9-time All-Star, so he has street cred to the players as far as recruiting. So what does a general manager do as far as the college athletics? Mostly oversees the transfer portal. He helps in recruiting. He assists in fundraising. He provides mentorship to the players internally and to the families. And so it's a really interesting job description. And you mentioned about Dame Lillard, a lot of free time. Dame's rehabbing his left Achilles tendon. He's sitting out the whole year, the 25-26 season. So it helps them. It gives Weber State a chance to compete definitely against the high-level teams because Dame is there. If the money's almost equal, he could be a difference maker. Now, Utah Utes, interesting, with Alex Jensen being the head coach, Sean, they have Wes Wilcox, who's a former general manager of the Atlanta Hawks and assistant general manager of the Sacramento Kings. BYU, who's in the top 10 right now as far as preseason polls. They don't have technically a general manager, but they have Kevin Young and Brian Santiago as the AD. They work in a partnership. Just a few more facts. Stephen Curry's the assistant general manager of his alma mater, Davidson College. Patty Mills, former San Antonio Spurs, who from Australia now lives in Hawaii for the last 10 years. He's the general manager, University of Hawaii men's team. Trey Young, Oklahoma general manager of his alma mater. And then Shaquille O'Neal, of all people, is the voluntary general manager of Sacramento State University because the head coach is Mike Bibby, a very close friend. Quickly, again, football, Andrew Luck of Stanford, alma mater, he's general manager of the Stanford Cardinal football team. So it's a new position. Some are just figureheads. Some actually, Sean, do the work. And it's a new landscape of NCAA sports.
I anticipate that, like you said, some of them, it's just, print my face on a picture and send it to the kids. Some of them actually get a little bit more hands-on. Traditionally, Damian Lillard has been more hands-on with the things he does than a lot of NBA players. I mean, in his own shoe design, all that kind of stuff. I imagine he'll have more fingerprints on it than a lot of guys serving this same role. Is that accurate in your mind?
Yes, it is, very much. Yeah, he loves the school. Remember, Sean, he was under-recruited a long time ago. So in the Bay Area, he's an Oakland, California kid. And teams got involved later on, like Cal Berkeley, and he was so, as far as his steadfast with Weber State, as the other schools came along his junior and senior year, he committed early to Weber State, and the rest is history. So he loves the Wildcats, and the Wildcats love him, and that's why it's going to work out.
Let's talk about the San Antonio Spurs spending some big money to keep De'Aaron Fox through, I think, 2030, $229 million max extension. Felt like a no-brainer. Are the Spurs back with what they've got on this roster and now the immediate future pretty locked up?
Well, the first thing is that, as a reference point, they have not made the playoffs in 6 years. So that's the most current thing. The last time they made it was 2019. But they feel that right now, by trading last season for De'Aaron Fox and now giving the extension you alluded to, his agent's Rich Paul of Clutch Sports. So he's able to drive that power through with the San Antonio front office. De'Aaron Fox is one of the fastest guys in the NBA. So he's going to play in lockstep with Victor Wembanyama And then now with Dylan Harper being there, Harper could play off the ball as I'll call him a combination guard. So he will definitely help the Spurs. And now with that contract, he's in place. His last year, Sean, the 29-30 he's going to make $61.5 million. So again, this is a new jargon of the NBA with the collective bargaining agreement. And you saw Luka Doncic's contract also. That Victor Wembanyama someday probably will be the first player ever to make $100 million in an NBA season.
Was there ever any doubt for you that Luka was going to sign an extension with LA?
No doubt at all. Is that once he got over moving on from Dallas, where he was heartbroken, and then the reality set in. He's in the Lakers, which is a tremendous spot for him, and now he signs that long-term contract for him, and it's going to help the Lakers. And as they go forward, it's going to help the everyone involved in the organization. You can see right now he's committed more to fitness this off season, and so he's always serious about playing, but now he's serious about being helping the Lakers try to win a title for the first time since 2020. He's the new face of the Lakers. Not to say that LeBron James isn't a great player, but as they go forward, they're going with Luka as far as him being the main guy.
Gordy Chaza, my guest here on the Sean O'Connell Show, talking all things NBA. It's every time we talk, it's, hey, what's going to happen with the Warriors? What's going to happen with Kuminga? And a stalemate, apparently, with that negotiation. What do you think is going to happen ultimately?
That he will sign with the Warriors. Yeah, I think that absolutely. That even though it's painful and it's messy, he will sign. He'll sign a 2-year contract. The second year will be a player option, and that allows his people that if it didn't work out, he's eligible to be traded on January 15th of this year. And so the way the contract will be structured, so they're going to try to sign him, see how it plays out between the first, we'll say, 2.5 months with him and with the team. And if it doesn't work out, he's eligible to be traded. So the contract is, as we speak right now, 2 years, $45 million total. It will make him the 4th highest paid player on the Warriors, and rightfully so, behind Steph, Jimmy Butler, and Draymond Green. So Kuminga is the young guy that will be 4th highest paid. He thinks he's worth more, so is his people, and that's been a problem right now. But if I'm the Warriors, I'm keeping him there. The way the rules are restricted, no one's bid on them so far. So why would you want to give him the whole thing as far as what he people desires for?
Gordy, did you ever play poker with Gilbert Arenas?
I never did, no, but I'm privy to some of the things he's done over the years. And Sean's alluding to right now, as far as a poker game, that's not a federal offense playing poker, but it's how he did it out of his home, etc., and all the other things that are going on. Gilbert Arenas was a tremendous player. That's the sad part about it, is that he was an all-star player, and he really helped his teams win, and he could score against anybody. But as the years went on of his career, it seems that he finds trouble or trouble finds him.
There are guys like this in every sport, every year in every sport, and you were involved with, I'm sure, backroom discussions on how you handle guys like this, what you can do to help. Where's the line when there's a Gilbert Arenas where, look, everyone makes mistakes and gets into trouble sometimes in their life, but when it becomes a pattern of behavior, and obviously he's long retired and he's not affecting any NBA teams now, but going back to his days in the NBA, there's the stories of locker room craziness and pulling guns on people on planes and all that kind of stuff. When you're a member of a coaching staff and you want to help a guy, when do you finally have to say, all right, this dude, there's not a lot we can do. We need to make a decision on whether his talent is enough for us to deal with this. He's not going to change.
You said it perfectly. So the question is he's not going to change. And so by being around a player on the plane at 3 o'clock in the morning, you see somebody how they really are. or in the locker room before a game. And so the coaches and manager to work together with the agent, and probably you described there, you would cut ties once you realize that there's no other path. You tried to rehab him, you tried to counsel him, you tried to do everything possible within reason to assist him to some of his vices that a player might have. He's still doing it, and he becomes a distraction to the team. So a lot of times in a team sport, it's that balancing act between a star player that can really do great things, but how he affects the other group and brings them down. And that's that invisible fine line that every coach, especially in the NFL and in the NBA, how they walk. And that's the point of that you think it returns diminishing. You move him on, hopefully to get almost value for him. But if not, sometimes addition by subtraction, even though it's painful.
Arenas is only 43. He last played in 2012 for Memphis, three-time All-Star. So great career still, really super solid career. Man, can't keep himself out of trouble. I will say, presumed innocent until proven guilty. That is the way we do things in the United States of America. Gordy, what is your list today?
My list today, Sean, we talked about so much the last few months about the college draft. And even though Cooper Flagg and all these guys top of the draft, that they're ultra-talented people, the reality is that it's very hard to make an impact because the players come out so early in their career. In yesteryear, most tremendous players would come out after their junior year, maybe their sophomore year, or they stay all 4 years. So with that said, it's a short list, Sean, of the players named to all NBA first team as a rookie. So which means that you're in the top 5 players in the NBA your rookie season. And there's only 9 guys of all time. And one is in LeBron James, which is so fascinating. Number 9, Alex Groza, first team All-NBA in 1950, played for the Indianapolis Olympians, which later on became defunct. Number 8, Bob Pettit, St. Louis Hawks became Atlanta Hawks. He was first team All-NBA in 1955. Number 7, the late Elgin Baylor from the Lakers, first team NBA 1959. Number 6, Wilt Chamberlain of the Warriors, now 76ers, All-NBA first team 1960. Number 5, Oscar Robertson of the Cincinnati Royals, now the Sacramento Kings, 1961, first team All-NBA. Rick Barry of the Golden State Warriors in 1966, first team All-NBA. Number 3, Wes Unseld of the Washington Bullets, now the Wizards, first team All-NBA 1969. Number 2, Larry Bird of the Celtics, first team All-NBA as a rookie in 1981. And the last guy to do it is Tim Duncan of the Spurs in 1998, first team All-NBA, which is 27 years ago. So Bird and Duncan are the last 2 guys to do it. I'll just give you some highlights about both those guys. Tim Duncan, season before he arrived in San Antonio, the record was 20 wins and 62 losses. With Duncan as a rookie, the Spurs won 56 and 26. Larry Bird, before being drafted by the Celtics, the Celtics had a record of 29 and 53. Bird's rookie season, the Celtics were 61 and 21. So that's how hard it is for these guys. So even though Cooper Flagg and all the other young phenoms, you think they're going to be great, usually in the beginning they play well, but to be a difference maker, it's very, very hard. Thus, Sean, that's my list of today.
Has anyone in the NBA ever done the Ichiro thing where they were in the MVP race and won an MVP as a rookie?
Well, the only guy to ever do it was Wes Unseld.
Okay.
He won the MVP All Rookie in the same year.
Wow.
That's how hard it is to do. Again, the guys come out so early. even though they're ultra talented, but they're 19 years old, just like in the NFL, Sean. See, in the NFL, the reason why they have that 3-year rule, because they know that in the NFL, the guys are men. They're going to take the young fellas' heads off in a game. It's the same thing in basketball, but not as blatantly physical. But these guys aren't ready as far as prime time, doing great things of leading their team and accomplishing so many things. Eventually they might be, but not in the beginning because it's such a differential of strength and also game experience. There's nothing like the NBA or the NFL.
Gordy, love talking to you. See you on Thursday. Thanks for the time, sir.
Thanks, Sean. Peace out.
That's Gordy Chiesa, resident NBA guru here on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Hey, good news for a guy we were just talking about, a former Utah pass rusher getting another shot in the NFL. I'll tell you who and where he's going next on the Sean O'Connell Show. It's Utah's number one sports talk, ESPN 700. "31 Days of Football" brought to you by Baskin Robbins. We've got great football Utah football, Big 12 football, NFL football. Monday through Friday, classic calls happening every Saturday. That's at noon, leading up to the season opener. This Saturday, it'll be the Utah State game from last September.
I was talking about this with Brian Brown last week. Was the Oklahoma State win, which we played last Saturday, or this coming Saturday, the replay of the Utah State game, which one of those were we as a fan base most high on Isaac Wilson? Because those were two really good performances, peak performances for Isaac last season. Obviously, Oklahoma State being the first Big 12 game, winning on the road, felt really good going to 4-0. But he was really good. He was arguably better against Utah State.
Yeah, but Oklahoma State, right? You felt like it was big boy football against, at the time, an Oklahoma State team that we didn't know was going to be terrible last year. Oklahoma State.
Yeah, they were ranked at the time.
Oklahoma State was right behind Utah in the preseason poll. Remember, the Utes in their first year in the Big 12 were picked to win the championship, and Oklahoma State, it was like Oklahoma State, Kansas State shuffling kind of behind them. And the Cowboys, we had that game circled. Every Ute fan had that game circled as this is where you find out what this team really is. That is the whole season right there. And wow, we were wrong. Holy cow, were we wrong. But, yeah, that's where we were the highest on Isaac Wilson.
And hopefully he has some great games going forward just after Devin Dampier is no longer here, because you want Devin to be healthy, obviously.
You know, I actually thought about doing an over-under that I'm not even going to tell people what it was, but it was related to games played for backup quarterbacks at the University of Utah in 2025. I decided not to put that juju into the world, so we're going to leave it alone. But, yeah, that's a fun little trip down memory lane people can listen to at noon on ESPN 700. Make sure you're listening, by the way, to Topical Trivia. We've got tickets to give away, and that's coming up at about 1:45. All-time low is coming to the Union October 16th. We'll give away a pair of tickets. Little update from a former Ute. We just talked about Bradley and I last week in a start bench cut.
The Annihilator.
I like that. Bradley and I has been signed by the San Francisco 49ers.
Hey, you're Niners.
I love that.
Put him on the other side of Nick Bosa. Let's go.
Yes. So, look, I say this from the most respectful place possible. It's just a reminder how hard it is for people to excel in the NFL, because Bradley and I was a consensus All-American at the University of Utah. He's had 11 games roughly that he's actually played in the NFL. He's bounced around practice squads and things like that. He was drafted in the 5th round by the Dallas Cowboys. Boo! And that's probably why he hasn't been successful yet, because he was with a crap organization. And then he went to another crap organization on the practice squad with the Jets. So, like,
yeah, that's rough.
He hasn't exactly been handled by the best franchises yet. But
the Freddie Coleman experience there, Jets Cowboys.
Bradley and I had 30 sacks in college, 135 tackles, 42 tackles for loss. In 11 games with the Dallas Cowboys, how many tackles do you think he has so far as an NFL player?
I'm going to be way off. I don't even know. Like 20?
Two. He's got 2.
At least I was way off in a more positive direction this time.
2 assisted tackles, right? And I'm not doing that to dunk on somebody. I mean, he's an NFL player. He's been in professional football, but he hasn't had to have a real job yet. He went from the NFL, and then he's been doing the UFL thing. He was with the Birmingham Stallions. But that's how big the leap is. That's how significant the jump is. And Bradley's a bit of a tweener size-wise, right? So there was conversation when he was coming out of school, and it's been this way for a lot of Utah players. It was this way for Nate Orchard. It was this way for Jason Faneca. It's this way for Bradley and I. Like, okay, well, can he be an every down pass rusher? He probably needs like an extra 20, 30 pounds for that. So let's see if he's got the mobility to be a stand-up linebacker or an outside 3-4 linebacker, things like that. And, I mean, you're talking about a guy in 4 years for the University of Utah, 3 especially. He didn't play a ton as a freshman, but his 3 years at the University of Utah where he was a regular contributor, you knew this was one of the best players on the team. You knew this was one of the best players in college football. And then you go to the NFL, and that's how hard it is to excel in the NFL.
Especially when you have to spend how many years he spent with the Dallas Cowboys.
Correct. Boo, Cowboys, you stink.
And then since you mentioned all he's done in his career, since all of that, he also was started, benched, and cut by you last week among Utah great pass rushers.
He's really been through a lot lately.
But he also
well, now that he's a 49er, he's
gonna help him win the Super Bowl.
Now that he's a 49er, I'm starting him again.
Yeah.
So I got to bench and cut. I got to bench and cut somebody else now.
Well, I mean, Nate's not in the league anymore. Nate and Hunter are not in the league anymore. So there you go.
Yikes. 27-year-old Bradley and I getting another shot in the NFL with the San Francisco 49ers. You love to see it every single time it happens.
Yeah, good for him. Also, you saw another former Ute from that same era, Tyler Huntley, getting a contract with the Cleveland Browns.
I'm
not sure he's going to be on the opening day roster, but getting some more money. Let's go.
I mean, anytime you get an opportunity to play professional football, Huntley really is like the best situation for him is the backup in Baltimore. It
was, wasn't it?
Because
maybe
Lamar
hopefully
Jackson,
he gets back to where he can do that because this is tough.
He's a poor man's Lamar Jackson. And it's like you don't have to change a ton if Lamar goes down by putting in Tyler Huntley. It's not going to be – the ceiling is not going to be quite as high with Tyler Huntley, but they're very, very similar players. And there ain't no shame in being a backup quarterback in the NFL. There's no better job in the United States of America than that one.
Yeah. And he's like the emergency he's the sixth quarterback on the roster. Did you realize that when they signed him, they have the three guys, everyone but Joe Flacco is injured right now.
Here's what I want to know. All right. When your agent calls you and says, hey, got an opportunity, another team, you're like, oh, yes, what a relief. Amazing. Yes, please. Yes. And then they go, it's the Cleveland Browns. Do you go, because you got to take it. You can't say no just because it's the Cleveland Browns. But there's got to be some level of that if you're an NFL player at any position, but especially at the quarterback position. If your agent calls you just like, hey, we got something special coming down the pipe, you're like, oh, sweet. I'm going to be on a team. I get to stay in the league. I'm going to have all these delicious free meals and nice hotels, and I get to tell everyone.
Do you think he walked into his to the manager of the call center he inevitably got a job at and just like tore everything, tore his badge off, threw it on the desk?
You.
No, he did not.
How dare you? He's
sorry.
Not working at a call center.
He's not at that point yet.
But Tyler Huntley
probably never.
He's like, hey, it's the Browns. No,
that's rough.
It's the Jets. Oh, come on!
I know. That's what I was going to say. The Jets are probably the only other team. Maybe Jacksonville, but Jacksonville feels like a better situation than either of those two.
And like, I don't know, maybe Carolina right now.
Carolina.
You're just like, but with those places, you're probably like, all right, cool. You know what? I could see something good happening here.
Yeah, there's potential. There doesn't feel like there's ever potential with the Browns or Jets. Yeah. Also, I wonder if this Brown situation is one where you obviously take it, but I wonder if there was like some trepidation in the back of his mind where he's like, this is clearly because, like, I'm going to be the fifth or sixth quarterback in this room. Like, I don't know if I'm going to make it if they're going to keep me by the time preseason's over. That's got to be something that's a little rough in the back of the mind. But you say, hey, I'm going to perform well in camp, in preseason, whatever action I get, and then hopefully another team that needs someone else in the quarterback room will put me on their actual regular season roster.
Okay, well, according to SpotTrack, which usually has the best contract information available,
yeah,
that phone call, whether you want to get it or not, just got him $469,000.
I'll take that phone call.
Total guaranteed. It says guaranteed at signing and total guaranteed money on his 1.225 for 1 year. Signing bonus of $167,500. Total guaranteed at signing, $469,900.
I'll take that phone call.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Where's my clipboard? I can do that.
Someone calls you to just like, hey, you got to move out of Miami into Cleveland, where you're going to be the 5th quarterback on the roster. You're like, no.
You'll be like, listen, I'm going to keep my place in Miami.
But here's the thing, dude.
Because I don't know, because I'm seriously doubting, because Shador's going to get healthy, Pickett's going to get healthy. I don't think those are season ending. I'm seriously doubting he makes it to the opening day roster.
Pickett's hands are too tiny, though. He's got those Burger King.
That's true.
Hands.
I got these tiny hands.
$469,000.
Yeah. I'm keeping the place in Miami because I'll be back in like a month.
I'm almost rooting to not make the opening day roster if that's total guaranteed at signing. You're just
point.
Like, I'm going to get $470,000 to work for a month. Heck yeah, dude.
Yeah, and I don't have to be in the Browns organization for more than training camp and preseason. Okay.
Like, here's the best case scenario for Tyler Huntley. Shows up, ends up getting 2 quarters worth of play in a preseason game. The Browns are just like, we just don't have room for this number of quarterbacks on the roster. Yeah. He plays well.
Kenny Pickett, Dylan's healthy now. Thank you for your service.
He plays incredibly well for that amount of time. And I don't know, the L.A. Chargers or the San Francisco 49ers or like the Dallas Cowboys, for hell's sake, are just like, hey, you know what? We liked what we saw from you in that preseason game. You're QB number 3 on our roster this year. Here's $1 million. Hold a clipboard.
Yeah.
You don't have to be with Cleveland.
That really is the best case scenario. Now, obviously, if he can make the Browns opening day roster, he's gonna be thrilled about that because he certainly sticks with the team that he's on right now. But yeah, that's tough to be not even the starting quarterback in such a bad organization for quarterbacks. That's got to be tough. So hopefully that's how it works out for him.
By the way, Tyler Huntley, so far, he's 27 years old. He's made $6 million so far in his career.
That's pretty good for a guy who hasn't been a regular starter. He's as a guy who's spot started.
Well, raise your hand if you have $6 million as a 27-year-old or a 57-year-old or a 77-year-old. Like, Tyler Huntley's a smart guy. He's going to probably have 2-3 more years in the league doing this thing, bouncing around, being a backup quarterback.
Spot starting here and there.
At the end of the day, he's retired by 30 with $8 million, $9 million, $10 million in the bank. I know it's not all about money. I know it's not, but it's kind of all about money when you're talking about your job. So Good for him.
Yeah, he definitely not poo-poo, Tyler Huntley.
Always good to see former Utes getting some chances in the NFL. All right. Got to take a quick one here. Speaking of Utes, Wayshawn Parker's name appeared on a watch list, and it begged a question for me. Which preseason award is most exciting? More importantly, which college football individual award is most prestigious? Which is the one that means the most? Throw out the Heisman Trophy, of course. Which is the one that you want to see a Ute win more than any of them? Because there hasn't been a lot of those individual trophy honors collected by Utes. Which would you like to see in the Utah Trophy case? 877-353-0700 at Real OC Sports. It's the Sean O'Connell Show on Utah's #1 sports talk, ESPN 700. 877-353-0700. As a Utah football fan, individual award for the trophy case. What would you like to see a Utah player win most? Throw out the Heisman. That's the most prestigious. What's the one that you would like to be able to claim? Outland Trophy? Bednarik? The Butkus Award? The Doak Walker? Let's see. Nate Orchard won the Hendricks Award, which is for the defensive end, right?
Oh, okay.
We've had several Utah players in the past win the Morris Trophy, which was the Pac-12 specific best lineman, as voted on by your peers.
By your opponents, right? The guys you went against.
Yeah.
Which is amazing.
It's the coolest award. All awards should be.
I hope the zombie Pac-12 keeps the Morris Award.
I don't care if they do. all awards should be handed out that way. P.S. You should be like, all right, who's the best wide receiver in the land? And you have defensive backs and defensive back coaches make that determination.
Yeah, the ones that actually game plan and play against him. It makes perfect sense.
They won't do it that way because so good news for University of Utah. Another player appearing on.
You mentioned did you say the Maxwell Award as one of the?
I didn't.
Anyway, I would say that's up there for one of the most prestigious non-Heisman awards.
Obviously, you have a couple. You have a Lou Groza. You have a couple of Ray Guys. You have 3 Ray Guy awards in the old Utah trophy case. BYU's got a Heisman Trophy. They got an Outland Trophy. They've got a Doak Walker Trophy, and much to my chagrin, that's a more decorated trophy case. I don't like that. So, Wayshawn Parker has been named to the Doak Walker Award list preseason. That's the good news. The bad news is this list is insanely inflated. Take a wild guess, James, at how many total players there are on the preseason Doak Walker Award list, which, of course, is given to the best running back in the country every year.
You found the list, then?
No, I didn't find the list. I just found...
You found how many are on
I
the
just
list?
found reference to how many players are on the whole list.
Okay. 90?
103.
Oh my gosh. You said way inflated, so I was like, well, it's going to be more than some of the others. I thought 90 was going to be way over. Dang. 103.
103. Thank you to the Liberty Flames website.
They put the number.
Their running back, Julian Gray, is one of the people on the 2025 Doak Walker Award preseason watch list.
All right. Shout out
Conference
to Julian
USA
Gray.
has Jackson State's Cam Cook, Western Kentucky's George Hart, and Delaware's Joe Silver to go along with Julian Gray.
Hey, maybe one of those guys is Ashton Genty. They're like the guy we didn't think someone from this conference would be the best running back in football, but here we go.
I know that today's not the day to air grievances, but I will make a point that if you go to the official Doak Walker Award website, the most recent thing posted is not the 2025 preseason watch list, because that would make too much sense.
Yeah.
It's stuff about Ashton Genty winning it last year. So the most recent post from them on their own website is from late 2024. Thank you.
I mean, at least it's not from late 2022, I guess.
17 running backs from the ACC. I'm able to glean that information. Alabama's got a guy.
Of course. I mean, that's almost every school in the country that has a guy, if it's one guy per team. So.
Uh-oh, here we go. There's a dispute happening. All right. Conflicting information, breaking news, conflicting information. According to Alabama's website, Jam Miller is a part of 88 running back, a group of 88 running backs on the preseason watch list. Who do you trust more? Alabama or Liberty? Because Alabama, they're like, whatever, Doak Walker doesn't matter. Liberty's like, we got a guy on the Doak Walker list. I actually trust them to be a little bit more accurate here.
Yeah, I mean, I generally trust Liberty as a concept more than I trust an elephant.
Okay.
An elephant that talks about that somehow refers to a red wave. I don't know.
Carson Hansen from Iowa State and Abu Sama III also from Iowa State were named to the list. Iowa State, one of 5 Big 12 schools with 2 running backs on the watch list. So we know that there are at least 5 Big 12 schools with 2 running backs on the list.
Oh.
We just can't find the whole list to save our lives because I'm bad at Boolean operators in the search engine, I guess.
But also, like, why doesn't the website just have the list?
It's so
and it's not the only award.
By the way,
you've been telling me it's almost all of these awards are the same way.
Yeah, you can't find the whole list, but the way that you get the whole list is you click on the articles that say, hey, we're Mississippi State. We've got Devon Booth and Fluff Bothwell, which, by the way,
Fluff Bothwell.
That is first team all-name squad for sure.
Fluff his government name, or is that a nickname?
Fluff Bothwell, that is absolutely I don't know.
Either way, that's amazing that's the one that he's officially known
as. Is this a Booby Hobbs situation? Full name is Demarion Bothwell.
Okay.
Also a really cool name, not as cool as Fluff.
Yeah.
That is
it's an Arius Bailey situation.
That is so fantastic.
Fluff Bothwell.
I can't wait until we get the who puts it out every year? The all-name team?
Feldman, right? No, that's the Freaks list.
That's the Freaks list. It's like On 3 or somebody does. They get it's like General Booty is the quarterback every year.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, if you're 877-353-0700, I will give 10 James Peterson bonus points to anyone who can text us the link to the official Doak Walker Award list, the full thing.
Not a bunch of links from a bunch of teams' social medias, like one link with all of the names. Yeah.
Also, the official University of Utah, the junk mail.
Yeah.
From Keelan McJunkin doesn't have the full list in it. Somebody has to have the full list in order to know that their guy is on the list. Like, did he get sent the whole list and say, guess what? Somebody's on here you might want to see.
Or does the Doak Walker and all these other preseason awards do the same thing that these social media accounts do for each school and just send to the individual SIDs for each individual school? This is who on your team is on the list.
And then the SID at Alabama is like, could you tell us how many guys are on it at least? And the person sending out the email has no idea because they don't compile the actual list. They're like, 88. I don't know. Liberty guy says the same thing. How many people are on the list?
I think about 100.
103. Who knows? How the hell do we have 2 different answers to the same question on the same day about how many total players are on the Doak Walker list? And how, more importantly, do we not have an easy way to debunk the wrong answer by just pulling up the full list?
Yeah.
Who's got the spreadsheet?
Come on.
Doak Walker. This is an SMU thing. That's who hands out the Doak Walker.
Oh.
The SMU Athletic Forum.
You going to send a strongly worded email to their communications department?
Yeah. Hey, SMU, you are now deducted 100 James Peterson bonus points.
That'll show them.
They're going to be like, oh, no. That's equivalent to the death penalty.
Each point is worth 1/100th of a cent. So that's like 1 cent you just lost.
Have you ever did you ever, when you were like a kid, and maybe your mom clipped out coupons?
Yeah.
Did you ever read the fine print on the coupon?
No.
The fine print on the old newspaper coupons that they used to have was like the actual monetary value of this coupon is like 1/20,000th of 1 cent or something like that.
Wow.
And I was like, wait a second. So if you got enough of these, you could actually turn them in for real money? Now,
is that like is that real, or is that like the Tootsie Pop wrapper when you find the cowboy shooting at the star, you get a free Tootsie Pop?
That thing, I believed that when I was a small kid, by the way.
I mean, I heard lots of people say they did it, but I never actually saw someone.
I bet that was a real promotion that Tootsie Pops did in like 1948. And so it just got passed down.
Yeah. I also, speaking of conflicting information with the Tootsie Pop thing, I heard from other of my friends that said, no, it's not the cowboy with the star. It's you have to have 3 full Tootsie Pop logos on the wrapper.
Stop it. Do products still do that thing where like
I have no idea.
you buy an Arizona iced tea or like a Sobe? Remember the Sobeys?
Yes.
And you
loved Sobe.
You pop the top off and you look at and under the lid was just like, oh, you get 1 free Sobe, or you get
I think McDonald's. I think McDonald's still does it in Monopoly game time.
You ever won anything in the Monopoly game?
Yeah, I won plenty of free food.
I won $5 in the Monopoly game.
Whoa!
One time. Also, have you watched the Monopoly documentary about the people who cheated?
No,
dude,
I'm gonna have to check that out.
It's good.
What's it on?
And I think it was on Netflix. Maybe it was on Amazon Prime. I don't know, but it was like the people who cheated the Monopoly game and got like the $1 million prize or something. Absolutely insane. That's probably why Monopoly is like, we're just gonna do QR codes from now on.
Yeah,
but when was the last time?
I always loved getting the free fries, free hash brown, Monopoly game token from McDonald's.
Seriously though, 877-353-0700. Is there any product out there now that like you buy a Tootsie Pop and you might get a free something? You buy a can of Mountain Dew and you peel off something, and oh, look at that! I get a Mountain Dew car. I get a monster truck. Do they even do this stuff anymore?
Honestly, I think because it was a Monopoly game, but other fast food places did pull it off your cup, pull it off your fry box, and get something free. Chance to get something free. I think that may be the last of them.
This is someone
is fast food places doing promotions like that.
This was a staple of my childhood.
I loved Monopoly game time at McDonald's. That was one of my favorite times of the year.
I could tell you this. As a marketing plan, as an advertisement, that worked. Because
absolutely.
McDonald's, all right. But McDonald's Monopoly time, yeah, I'm going. I'm trying to win something. The allure of potentially being awarded something free is enough to make me spend way more money than the value of the free thing.
Yeah.
That's just how I am.
We're pathetic that way, aren't we, OC?
What has gone on with the products? They used to suck us in with the potential, and now they stopped trying. Maybe because it's too easy to counterfeit now. Maybe the Monopoly game taught everyone that, like, hey, if you can hack the Monopoly game, nobody's safe. I read a thing the other day that there was a kid there was like Mountain Dew points or Doritos points or something, that one of the prizes you could redeem the points. If you had 7 million points, you could get a fighter jet.
Oh yeah. There was a Pepsi. There's a documentary.
That's what it was, Pepsi points.
There's a documentary about Pepsi. Hey Pepsi, where's my jet on Netflix?
Yeah,
so good.
7 million Pepsi points. Maybe that's why they stopped doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
because they never thought they were going to have to give away a jet.
I'd forgotten about the Pepsi. Hey Pepsi, where's my jet? Yeah, I actually. So after a Jazz game, Jordan Clarkson was talking about Pepsi for some reason. So I said, hey, I had just watched the documentary. I'm like, hey, did you see? Because it's a lot about the Philippines. Of course, Jordan Clarkson, Filipino heritage. So I'm like, did you watch that? Like, they really screwed over some of the Filipinos. And he goes, yeah, it's so messed up. So anyway, it was I had a nice little conversation with Jordan Clarkson about the Pepsi points.
0910 says, are either of you old enough to remember the old glass Dr. Pepper bottles with the thin layer of styrofoam around them when they did the Twisted Pepper game? You twist off the metal cap from the glass bottle and look underneath to see if you won another Dr. Pepper. That's what I'm talking about.
Sounds cool. I don't remember that. That sounds cool.
Yeah. We need to bring back toys being in boxes of cereal. Those things were never good, though. Those toys always sucked.
Yeah.
Except for somebody, Cocoa Pebbles maybe, Fruity Pebbles, had a color-changing spoon one time.
Oh.
That, like, the temperature of the milk would make the spoon change color. Not bad. Not bad.
So what color would you have to be really concerned about? Hey, I'm not drinking this milk.
A cereal milk? I'll drink cereal milk of any color. There's absolutely no color that cereal can turn milk that I would not drink it. Like, oh, that's fluorescent blue? Well, it's fine. I'm sure those dyes and parabens are not hurting me at all.
Yeah.
Cereal milk, man, one of the best things in the world. When my brother lived in Brooklyn, there was a restaurant that would...
Is it called cereal milk?
I forgot what it was called, but there was
a great name.
There was a restaurant where you could order stuff made with cereal milk, like ice cream made with cereal milk. You could just order a glass of cereal milk. I'm sure it was very short-lived because that is a gimmick that just has no staying power at all.
And you probably a few people that are like, "Is this fresh milk?" Or what?
It's like, so what are you doing? How are you making it? You're just taking actual cereal and you're pouring milk through the cereal?
You didn't eat the bowl of cereal and then pour it into my glass, did you?
How many times did your saliva get on the spoon that you dunked back in here? Anyway. All right. Sean O'Connell Show continues next with Jeff Schwartz, our guy, to talk a little Utah football, especially the offensive line. He's on the Joe Moore committee, meaning he helps select the winners of the Joe Moore Award, given every year to the best offensive line in college football. Does Utah have a chance to win it? We'll ask Jeff Schwartz next on ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. Welcome back to the Sean O'Connell Show. Welcome in Jeff Schwartz. It's been way too long since we've caught up with our guy. A longtime NFL veteran, former Oregon Duck. We forgive him for that, though, now that Utah and Oregon are no longer in the same conference. A football insider. Jeff Schwartz, how are you?
I'm good. I missed you, but I will actually see you next week. Maybe. I haven't decided if I'm going to go at all to the fights, but I will see you on Thursday. I'm looking forward to it. I know the kids are as well. I told them. They said, Sean who? I said, exactly. Exactly, yeah.
We did radio together for 6 years. Anyway, yeah, looking forward to that. I most look forward to you making dinner, doing whatever the plan is on Thursday night, and then like 5 minutes before I'm supposed to show up, texting you, hey, not going to be able to make it. I
mean, it's possible. We have a back to school thing that night too, and I was like, Meredith, I'm leaving early because Sean's coming over. So it's a great excuse to leave an event I don't want to go to early. So I'm glad you're in town.
Love it.
Yeah.
PFL is in Charlotte, where Jeff lives, next week. Going to be awesome. 3 title fights that Jeff may or may not decide to grace us with his presence.
I think I'll come Friday night. Yeah? Why not?
All right.
How long is what's the? Give me like the sketch. Like what's like?
Cool people like you are not. They typically don't show up for the preliminary fights. They don't go to the early card. If you come to the early card, it's like 6-7 hours of fights. If you just go to the main card, it's 2.5, 3 hours.
What time is the main card?
I think it's going to be 9 Eastern.
Oh boy. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I'll see how long I'm able to make 9 Eastern. I'll make it work.
Oh, you're the worst. Anyway, I brought you on today not to talk about PFL fights that you probably won't end up attending, but to talk about the upcoming college football season. The coaches poll, the preseason coaches poll came out, and, Big 12 sees their highest ranked team, Arizona State, at number 11, and then it's teams down in the 20s after that. Utah not in that mix right now, according to the coaches. Your Oregon Ducks are highly thought of heading into the year.
Yeah.
Well, let's start there. What did you think of Oregon's placement in a lot of these preseason conversations?
That's about right. I don't get people that don't want the polls. Like, this is great for business. It is awesome to talk through these things every year. I don't understand people. It doesn't ruin anything. If you win all your games, guess what? You'll be ranked pretty high. That's the way the system works. And so I love these polls. I love to see where people think teams are supposed to be at. I think Oregon's just about where they're supposed to be. I think there's some skepticism with some of the younger players that are going to have to play this year, right? We were new at a lot of positions. There are a lot of portal players. I think that's fine. I like where we went with the portal, but I understand there's some skepticism when it comes to where to put some of these Oregon players and newish quarterback, right? And new offensive linemen and new wide receivers and young on defensive line, young at linebackers. I get a little bit of that. And Oregon's going to have to look week 5, Penn State. We go to Happy Valley. I mean, that'll be a good test immediately to see how good we are.
Are you a believer in Penn State? This is the most hyped we've seen Penn State in a preseason that I can remember, and I'm just not a disciple of the James Franklin hype train. Where do you stand on Penn State being able to follow through with some of this optimism?
So I think there's a difference between like what they might do in conference and what they might do in the championship realm. Like for me, I think they're a great bet to win the conference, right? What James Franklin does every year is he beats the teams he should, which is important. Look at their schedule. That's 10 of the games they're playing. 10 of the games they're playing. The other one, Oregon at home, like they should, I would imagine, play pretty well against Oregon at home. They go to Ohio State, that'll be a tough game, but Ohio State, just like a lot of teams, sort of has to replace a lot. So I'm curious what Ohio State is going to be this year. The question is, do I believe them to win the championship, right, which is what aspirations they have? And the answer is no, I don't, because they have to do it before I believe it, right? They're again, the issue with them is they just don't win that big one. And that big one does include winning the championship. And I need to see it happen before I back Penn State. Are they talented enough to do it? Yes. Their offensive line is good, like good team, right? Good offensive line, good running backs, good quarterback. They replace guys on defense, but I like the Jim Knowles hire. Like, there's a legitimate reason to be excited for this team, but they haven't won the big one, right? And that's what concerns me about backing them to win championship. And to be fair, I think every team this year has a lot of questions. I think it's not just a Penn State thing. I think a lot of teams you're looking at and like, oh, you know what? There's this issue I have. There's that issue I have. Can they do it? Yes, if it all breaks right, if everything works out well. So it's not just a Penn State thing. I think a lot of teams feel like that right now. If you're asking me right now who was a championship, I don't know if I have a great answer for you.
Well, I don't think we have great answers for those things. My predictive powers have never been great, and last year was the ultimate, like, you don't know what you're talking about kind of.
Well, the Big 12 was hard for everyone, I think. If you're judging yourself on the Big 12, it's probably not fair because that was everyone sort of was in the same boat. I mean, the Big 12 last year was so all over the place. No one predicted that. I think it's okay to give yourself a pass on the Big 12.
Transfers are a big story in college football right now. Transferring and being expected to, resurrect a program like Devin Dampier is being expected to at the University of Utah, or to bring Oklahoma back to glory as John Mateer is being expected to do.
Yeah.
We kind of just paint those with the same brush. Like, you transfer, you start playing in a new place. These guys have an unbelievable amount of pressure on them. Where do you stand on the ability for young players to meet expectations that outsized?
Well, look, it's very hard. But the thing that I think you have going for these young players is some of them have done it before. First of all, right? They've grown up in this must-win now culture a little bit, right, Sean? Like they sort of get that vibe early on because of the sports they play. But also, the difference with some of these ones you mentioned is the offensive coordinator also went with them, right? So your Dampier has coordinator go with him. John Mateer's coordinator went with him. Those are important for success to have those guys with you. If it's just the player, I think it's a much tougher transition. But you include the coach in that, and you should at least be very comfortable with the offense, which obviously is important for success. So, there's a lot of things I think that you can take and be excited for because they came as a pair.
Is Texas Tech going to be this year's Texas A&M, where the big headline is just like, oh, man, look how much money they spent on their roster, the transfer portal, they're getting all these big-time guys. They had the best transfer portal class in the country, according to some metrics. And, they're Texas Tech. They haven't there's no proven recent track record of excelling at the most important level, the conference championship level. How are we going to be talking about the Red Raiders halfway through and at the end of the season?
I would lean toward not living up to the hype. That's just it's typically 1 year to sort of get in and 1 year to sort of then you become sort of the staple of what people expect from you. It just feels like they're just not there right now. I get the hype. They've rebuilt some of the roster. Look, I'm always skeptical about being really good, adding a bunch of portal players. I think it's really hard to do. I think we look at it, I think it's easy to do. It's hard. And to adapt all those players immediately is really tough work, Sean. And everyone thinks they're going to do it easily, which I think is sort of the issue for me. Everyone's like, it's going to be easy. I'm like, I don't know if it's going to be easy. So I would lean toward, I think, probably not as good as the hype makes it out to be.
Jeff Schwartz, my guest here on the Sean O'Connell Show, talking all things college football. And now we get to the part that I really wanted to pick your brain about. Utah football is expected to have the best offensive line Kyle Whittingham has ever had in his 21-year tenure. They're talked about as having one of the best offensive lines in the country. You are one of the thought makers. You are one of the shapers of that conversation as a part of the Joe Moore committee. What do you think of this Utah offensive line as a whole first, and then we'll get to the pieces?
I think it's really good. When you have the tackles that you have, and then just add in the other players, starting with that base, it's always a good place to be, and it's very clear that the tackles are elite level players, and then you can sort of basically build your offense line around those guys, which I think they've done. It's a lot of veterans. I mean, look at the depth chart right now: senior, inside. I mean, having those, the veteran leadership there is good. I think it's a really good offensive line, and that also, for the Dampier discussion, having a group like that around him early in his tenure at Utah will, I think, take a lot of pressure off him because he won't have to do it all, right? They'll let the offensive line be the offense early in the season, and that will lead, I think, to a lot of success. The offensive line is the heartbeat of a team, and if your offensive line is good, it's very rare to find a bad team, if that makes sense, right, Sean? Like, just hard to find that, and I think the offensive line at Utah is one of the best in the country right now. I don't know if people realize that. I've watched them enough because I was trying to take a peek at the tackles to understand that. And they're going to be I picked Utah to win the Big 12. I put them in a playoff thing. Like, I think that Utah can be good this year if the offensive line plays to their success, if Dampier can play in a more hopefully open Utah offense. The question always becomes, as we know, is the wide receivers. Can they do their part for Utah?
Yeah, I've been setting over-unders on some what I think are important numbers for Utah, and today's number was 2,999.5 yards passing for this Utah offense, which, in conference championship contention years going back to the Pac-12, they were 3,000, 3,100, 3,250, that kind of a thing. It's never going to be a 4,000-yard offense. It's just not the way the Kyle Whittingham teams do things. And last year, New Mexico's offense was basically 2,760, and Utah's offense was like 2,340. So would you take the over or under projecting Devin Dampier, this offensive line, question mark, like you said, at the wide receiver spot, obviously better competition, etc. You go over under on just, the 3,000-yard mark, basically.
I would probably lean under just because of what they're, I think, going to want to be this year. If they have to throw the ball that much, it's probably not great, right? But again, I mean, I think that look at this, Sean. I think you would love if he threw for 3,000 yards. I think that would be great, but I just don't know if that offense is going to be that way, right? And so I just don't know. That's what New Mexico, they ran the ball a ton. Your offensive line, you lean on those guys. Maybe there's a big play potential from this group where the yards are very chunk yardage. But the schedule, look, I mean, you have to throw the ball a little bit in this with the schedule, though. I'll tell you that it's not an easy schedule.
All right, let's get back to this offensive line.
Yeah.
Because, I love to pick your brain about O-line play, especially. We'll start with Spencer Fano. He's considered, and correct me if I'm wrong, one of the best run-blocking tackles, or maybe the best run-blocking tackle in the whole country and in this upcoming draft cycle. What does he need to improve in his pass sets from the film you've been watching?
So this is a really fun discussion to have because this is a problem that I think is the entire college football landscape when you evaluate offensive linemen, Sean. They just don't have a ton of reps at true pass protection. Like, there's just not a lot of opportunities in a game where you are drop back passing on 3rd and 8 and you have a pass rusher in front of you that can actually rush the passer, and it mimics what you would do in the NFL. I think that's where Fano just there's not a lot of reps of that, right? And so if you don't have a lot of reps of that, it's hard to be good at it without the reps, right? I think that's what he just needs, more reps to sync up his hands and his feet and be able to do that. I think that we don't prioritize pass protection enough when we evaluate offensive linemen. I think it's really hard to do. And so I think that's where just more reps, more working the technique. And then again, it's hard because you're not getting a ton of chances. I mean, you look early on, like, you're not going to, Cal Poly, you get 0 chances for that. UCLA right now, I know it's week 1. I like Utah a lot in that game. The Bruins have to replace a lot. It's 42 guys leave their program. And I like Deshaun Foster, I think, is on the right path, but not early season. You're at Wyoming. I mean, how much you were going to have to pass protect in that game? I mean, that to me is it, right? It's just he needs more reps to refine his technique.
All right. On the other side, left tackle spot. You actually, I think, were the first one who said anything even resembling this when we had a conversation. I don't know if it was bowl season last year, but that that Lomu actually might be a guy that projects as high or even higher in the NFL because of the more natural pass set. Because
Yes.
that is the skill that is prioritized at the NFL level, kind of to the point that you were just making.
Yeah.
But, you get both of them. You got both. And Lomu has been a guy who's been certainly stepped into the spotlight a little bit more this season, this offseason, I should say. He's been more vocal, and, he checks every box that us, mere mortals can see. What about you with the offensive line lenses on?
Yeah, so I think that I think it's interesting. So I think Fano is overhyped, if that makes sense. I don't think he's any worse than people say he is, but I think that I just think he's a little overhyped. I think Lomu is underhyped. Like I when I watch him play, I'm like, oh yeah, like that's what you are, like that's what left tackle is in the NFL. Like it looks like it should. I think I even just texted you that. I don't even know if we talked about it on the air. I think when the season's done, Lomo is going higher in the draft. I just, his size, his movement skills, his pass protection, you can always sort of teach someone to run block better, technique wise, get more power. You can train that. You can't sometimes train being a smooth pass protector. And that is really where I see the big difference in that. So I'm excited to watch him play this year and just see how much better he can get in run block. He's a legit pass protector, like a first round top type of tackle pass protector.
Is there any potential downside to having a line like this one that has played so many reps together? If someone gets banged up and then trying to plug someone in there, is it like, oh, now that guy's a fish out of water because he doesn't have like the verbal and nonverbal chemistry that some of these other guys have? I mean, is there any way that this becomes an issue for Utah aside from like, yeah, no, this is a great thing to have this offensive line?
You mean it's bad if someone gets hurt and the line is, and the shuffle guys around? Like, what do you?
Yeah, I guess I'm just trying, like, because we're so high on this offensive line that I'm worried we're getting unrealistic about what it means for the offense. So,
yeah, I mean, I think it's fair to feel that hype early on right now, and I think you should have high expectations. But look, injuries, they hurt everyone. It's not just so if guys get hurt, then it's not going to be what you want it to be. But that's where you hope that the Jim Harding has had those backups ready to go, and this is why you hope early in the season you get the backups in for a couple plays or two, a couple drives or two at the end of games, get them seasoned and ready to go. And if you lose one guy, you should be able to be okay enough. You can scheme up some help. You lose a couple guys, you kind of get into problems there. But I think that if this line stays healthy, the offense should be able to do what they want to do to most opponents.
I don't know how much individual tape you've been able to watch yet, but there's other guys, right? Lomo and Fano are on the Outland Trophy watch list. There's a bunch of guys on that list. And, you look at the other preseason kind of, hey, look for this dude. Isaiah World, the transfer to Oregon, is a name that you see all the time. Jordan Seaton, who's at Colorado, and
he's good.
Like, your thoughts on some of those guys?
Yeah. I thought you were going to mention that Utah's center, I've not watched the Utah's interior offensive line very much, is on the Remington Award watch list, because the Remington Award is the one for the centers, right? They have like 110 centers in the preseason watch list. And I've always joked, imagine being like the 111th center.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding.
Every returning starter.
We've talked about this for years, Sean, on our show. Like, I'm not kidding. Go look it up, guys. It's like 100 centers on the Remington Award watch list. It's insane. Look, Jordan Seaton at Colorado, when there was last week, there were rumors Dion was going to step down. That was the rumor before his press conference. And, I think the portal opens up immediately if your coach steps down. I mean, if your portal's open like now, I think it doesn't. I know it's not portal season, but I think if your coach leaves, it opens up for those players on that squad. He would be the guy, the left tackle for Colorado, that people would call about immediately. Like the number one player who teams would be like, I want you to come play for me. He is a very good football player. It's a true freshman. It's very hard to play. He made some freshman mistakes. the thing that really hurts Colorado's offense and offensive linemen, by extension, is they just have a bad offensive design. It's just not good, Sean. And they don't run the ball enough. They don't do things with formation that really throw off a defense. They just sort of set it and forget it, which I don't think is a great way to build a functioning offense. And so it's tough for the offensive lineman in Colorado to be good under those circumstances, and he's good anyway. So he's legit. Isaiah World is I said I had a crush on him the other day. He's the left tackle, went to Oregon from Nevada. Dude can ball, man. Oh my God. He looks like Tyron Smith when he pass sets. He's not as strong yet, but his arms go down to his knees, dude. He's so athletic. He's got to work on his run game. He's got to get stronger and play with better hips and leverage. But he's a very, very good pass protector, and so it's fun to watch him on film. So
can we count on, because you're in that room, you're in the group chat.
Yeah.
Like, can we count on you to be pushing Utah as a Joe Moore Award squad this year?
Yes, I've already alerted the staff to Utah's potential success this season, and so yes, that will be one. I am looking forward to Oregon being the runner-up for the fourth year now in Joe Moore Award. We've been a runner-up 3 years. I've been on the committee like 5 years. We've been a runner-up 3 times, which is not fun. But I'll be happy if Utah wins. It's a great award. I know it matters a lot for offensive lines and the rooms and offensive linemen in there. I know Coach Harding wants to win the award. So look, man, just if they play like they should, they will be in the discussion to win this award.
Who else is in that discussion? We have been joking about
the
watch list. The Doak Walker came out today, and there's 103 guys, I guess.
It's insane.
Although Alabama's website says there's only 88, so we can't get a real number. But in any case, how many teams are actually up for it in your mind in this Joe Moore Award in 2025?
Yeah, so we haven't done any preseason watch list yet, but I'll tell you the teams I think, just from talking to guys. Utah's one of them. Alabama's offensive line is going to be really good this season. Illinois returns all their offensive linemen. I'm kind of curious to see how that looks this year with an older veteran offensive line. Oregon will be in that discussion as well. I'm trying to think of Texas has returned. Texas returned loses so much from last season. The one thing about our award that makes it unique is really the preseason hype does not matter to us. I mean, for example, Army won last year. Do you think we had Army on our preseason watch list? No, we watch the film and teams pop up, and if they're good enough, they'll be considered. But those are a couple off the top. I'm sure I'm missing a couple off the top of my head that Penn State's offensive line, they returned 4 guys, and that running back room is really, really good. So those are a couple of the teams that I think I have my eye on early in the season. But again, you can work your way into this. There's no you can work your way into it. There's no stopping anyone from being a team that we look at, because again, we're watching the film every week, and so we evaluate week by week.
How was Army's offensive line last year smaller than most offensive lines? Because there's, there used to be at least that thing in the service academies. You had to be like small enough to fit in the Navy ship or in the helicopter or in the Air Force plane. But I'm looking at their roster right now, and their offensive line looks like they're, normal sized for offensive linemen.
I mean, they're not. They're a tad undersized, I think. I mean, they're not like, it's not where I think your point, like they're so little. But I do wonder if Army's different than Navy. I think Navy, the guys are a little smaller, because I think that's where it matters more about like the planes and being able to fit and stuff. Air Force. Jeff Schwartz was not going to be an Army. I could not fit any. I have to be like infantry or intelligence, no in between. I don't fit anything.
Well, you don't have what it takes for intelligence. We know that.
Yeah, that's why I never joined. That's the only reason why. I know. I just couldn't do it.
What's going to be on the menu when I come over for dinner in Charlotte?
You want to know like a very sort of Jeff Schwartz, Meredith Snipes thing? So, a couple months ago, Meredith said, "Hey, this guy like knocked on our door and he's selling meat and poultry and seafood out of a truck. And I bought some stuff from him." I said, okay. It was actually ended up being really good. So the guy came back yesterday, and I just bought so much stuff, like pork chops, steaks, shrimp. And then Meredith said you negotiate with him. I was like, no, you know I'm bad at that. I just whoever told me the price was, I just bought it. So I had these beautiful steaks, like these cowboy ribeyes. I'll probably just make some of those.
All right, I'm looking forward to that.
I mean, I can make whatever you want. You have dietary restrictions. You got to call a fight the next day. Do you have to like?
You know
do
me.
Do you not want to bloat? Do you want to like make sure you don't? You like what do you need?
I'm gonna bloat either way, so I won't blame you.
Do you have any special? You like a special guest for that? Like, do you guys have a week, by week, like a special commentator for each week?
No. Do you want to be one?
I don't. I don't know.
Put you on the desk.
I mean, who's I can't pronounce the names though either. It probably would be.
Oh, it'd be an absolute disaster. That's why it'd be fun.
For you guys. I'm in. I am probably coming because I want to see it. I've never been before.
Say probably coming, Jeff.
I've never
what
been.
What are you talking about? I'm probably coming.
I've never been to a fight before, and I think it'd be fun.
Are you gonna bring your wife?
I think they might be at the beach, but otherwise I would bring her. Yes, she's so she's so anti-fighting. It's kind of weird considering her personality. You would think she'd be like very pro fighting, but she's anti-fighting.
What former Carolina Panthers can you invite to make us look cooler for having all of them in the audience?
Hey, Jonathan Stewart's he'd probably be in. I think.
Okay. Can you get Luke Kuechly there?
I can ask Jonathan about it. Yeah, I don't know Luke, but he does.
I want to have Jeff Schwartz and any other massive offensive lineman that you can find, and the rest we don't.
I wonder if the Panthers are off. Maybe the Panthers are off that night too, and we could just like get a team function. I'll text the player engagement guy, like who does all the hands on the retired players. Ask him if like open invite anyone who wants to go.
Yeah, perfect. I love that. Actually, in all seriousness, really looking forward to coming down and hanging out, and appreciate you joining us on the show today. The plan is, I'm putting pressure on Jeff by saying this publicly. The plan is we're going to try to get Jeff to join us weekly like we did this past football season.
I said I would do it. My schedule is not completed yet for football season. I will come on your show.
I know.
Probably on Tuesday, I would imagine, is the best time to do it. Are you on the Utah hype train like I am? I think Utah's going to be good this year.
I am on the Utah hype train, and I know that it probably sounds disingenuous coming from a guy who's on the home of the Utes and who graduated from the University of Utah, but like everyone jumped off the bandwagon thinking that Kyle Whittingham forgot how to coach or something because they had, they were decimated by injuries. I look at this year and I say that's the only thing that can give them a terrible year. I think that even if you have like a couple injuries, like a normal amount of injuries, you're in the conference championship hunt because the Big 12 is wide open. And the schedule, like you said, is not easy, but it's not really punitive either. So I love what I hear and see about Devin Dampier. So I'm really optimistic. I
share the optimism. I think BYU is ranked too high to start the season. Should we end on that? Probably that fire up everyone up.
Everyone's going to love that. I actually am upsetting people because I have been telling them they're going to be fine without Retzlaff, but there are a lot of people who don't feel the same way. So.
Interesting. Maybe I come on next week. We could talk about that. I think that's a big loss for them.
Okay. Well,
I mean, they don't have a Jewish quarterback anymore. It's heartbreaking.
Yeah, I know that was the most important part about his game for you.
Yeah, that was. Yeah.
All right. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate
All right, buddy.
you.
Talk to you later. Bye.
Jeff Schwartz. You heard it here. Utah in the hunt for the Joe Moore Award. We got a guy. We got a mole. We have an inside man. He loves Jim Harding. He loves Utah football. Our equipment guys may or may not have sent a hoodie or two to Jeff Schwartz at some point. So we're making a case.
And he loves Caleb Lomu.
He said it on the air,
He's higher on Caleb Lomu than he is Spencer Fano.
That's right.
Which is very interesting to me because, as he said, Fano's been getting by far the most of the hype between the two. Lomu's has started to grow as time has gone on.
Yeah. Jeff is he's one of those guys, I know this for having worked with him for a decent amount of time, that like he just kind of trusts what he sees. And when he says that you watch Caleb Lomu pass block and it looks like an NFL tackle, that's why he says that. So the point of the matter is Utah football fans. That's a guy who played 9 years of NFL football on the offensive line, telling you that you got one of the best offensive lines in the country. And a guy who's used to watching Alabama, Oregon, Ohio State, Wisconsin, these offensive lines. So, good news all around. All right, got to take a quick one. Hour number 3 starts with Trey Fitzgerald. We'll talk some RSL soccer on ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 792 on FM. We welcome in Trey Fitzgerald, RSL insider, friend of the program. RSL back in the Western Conference playoff hunt in earnest. And, of course, Leagues Cup group stage game tomorrow night. Querétaro, 7:30 at America First Field. Trey, welcome back to the show. How are you?
OC, good buddy. How are you?
Doing all right. How's the Leagues Cup been so far for you?
It's been exciting. It's been fun. It's always a little different to play these Mexican teams with their style of play, their implementation of what Dunny likes to call the dark arts, how they try to work over the referee and the opponent and just all the extra. It's been good for us. Obviously, starting off the phase one, as they call it. You can't call it a group stage because everybody doesn't play everybody, but Club America is one of the biggest clubs in CONCACAF in the Western Hemisphere. We were 15 seconds away from getting the full 3 points against them, give up a late goal, which was quality from them, and then our man Rafael Cabral stepped up massive in the shootout. And then 3 days later, we get the early goal against Atletico San Luis. We get the late goal to tie it up and send it to a shootout, and then that shootout did not go our way. Shootouts are crazy. I feel like I love them, except when it involves our team, and then I start questioning my heart, like if I'm just getting old too quick and I can't handle it. So, but it's been fun, man. And look, we go into the match day 3 tomorrow against Querétaro. We still have a chance. We need to win, and then we need like 6 other MLS teams to fail to win. So either a outright loss or a shootout loss, and then we can be one of the top 4 out of 18 MLS teams to get to the quarterfinals. So chances are slim, but we've got a league game on Sunday in New York that's going to be important. We've got new players that we're hopefully going to be able to integrate soon as well. So it's a lot of good stuff going on.
Before we move on to anything, I want to go back to these shootouts because I've had lots of conversations with lots of soccer people about shootouts versus run of play, and it feels like I enjoy watching a shootout, but it feels like that's kind of a noob sort of opinion. Like if the soccer purist is always like, no, you got to let the match be decided by run of play. It's not the same thing, and it feels like I'm shamed for enjoying a good shootout. But you're someone who just said you even like a shootout as long as it doesn't involve RSL. So where are we supposed to fall on these things?
So the shootouts after 90 minutes is a very new thing, right? With some of these tournaments lately, with Leagues Cup and CONCACAF and other tournaments. You may remember, OC, you probably don't, but when MLS had the All-Star game here at what was then Rio Tinto Stadium in 2009, RSL and MLS hosted Everton, and it did go straight to a shootout after 90 minutes. It was a very new, unique concept then. And our old owner, Dave Checketts, said, you know what? I hate ties. There's no emotional resolution from a regular season tie. Maybe every game should go to a shootout. So he was roundly mocked and criticized and all that fun stuff. So I actually just kind of tweeted that yesterday because I've been watching a lot of Leagues Cup. It's fun to be able to see other teams that you don't get to see with all the MLS games all stacked up on each other on a typical Saturday night at 7:30 Mountain. But I don't know, man. I guess I'm in the minority. Maybe you are too. I sometimes I go home from a tie and I'm like, you know what? I would have rather us lost because then I would know how to emotionally process what I just saw over the last 90 minutes. But maybe I'm just and I'm not a noob. I've been in this dumb game for 30 years. So that's my opinion. So
emotional resolution is a great way to put it. It's one of the obstacles for soccer's popularity with American sports fans, in my opinion, where it's like, what do you mean? There's ties? We watched this whole game and all this back and forth and this craziness, and it's 0-0, and I'm supposed to be excited about that? So the shootout does offer that resolution.
Some of those ties feel like wins and some feel like losses. You just never know, and that's part of why we love this marathon 10.5-month season and 34 games in playoffs, I guess, and all these other cups that are played concurrently.
Well, let's talk about where RSL's at in the Western Conference right now. Unbeaten through several matches. 5 wins, building up the points and back really in the thick of that playoff race. And the last time we talked, we were touching on this with RSL kind of on the outside looking in, but within striking distance because of how much there still is left to play. Where do you feel the team's at right now with the schedule ahead? And like you said, your RSL campaign being interrupted by some Leagues Cup and things like that. Is this team in the spot it needs to be as the playoffs do approach?
Yeah, look, June and July have been good to us. We've lost 1 out of our last 9 games. We've moved from 13th up to 8th in the Western Conference standings. The top 9 go to the playoffs. We've got 1 game fewer played than some of the teams surrounding us. So I think everybody's pretty optimistic. We do go to New York Sunday. We go to Charlotte the weekend of the 16th. So you got to take care of some business on the road, and then you're back at home for 5 of your final 8. So we think it's all there ahead of us, and I think everybody's feeling super optimistic about the stretch run. We've got a rescheduled game from earlier in the year against LAFC that has moved down to September 17th. And if Seattle or us go to the Leagues Cup final on August 31, that August 30 trip up to play the Sounders will also be rescheduled. So it could end up being a really congested, what am I trying to say? September, I guess. But we feel like we're a really deep team. We feel like we're healthy right now. We're bringing in some new forwards to up the level of competition. We got Emeka Anelli back. We got Brian Ojeda, who had 2 goals in his first 75 RSL games and now has 3 in his last 3. So there's a lot of reason to believe that maybe if this team gets super hot, we can get a top 4 Western Conference home field advantage seed come late October.
Trey Fitzgerald, our guest here on the Sean O'Connell Show, talking RSL. They are right now in 8th place in the Western Conference playoffs. Transfer windows, we're talking about, free agency in some sports. You talk about the trade market being open. Transfer window right now in MLS. What is RSL looking to do while it's open?
Yeah. So the transfer window opened on Pioneer Day, July 24th. We announced a new designated player from Brazil. His name is Juan Cruz. Played for Botafogo, one of the bigger clubs over there. Played in Botafogo actually spent $10 million on him in February to get him out of Bulgaria, where he was a prolific goal scorer. So we're excited to have him. Looks like hopefully by the end of the week, we'll be able to announce the other very heavily rumored target named Victor Olatunji from Sparta Prague, trying to get that paperwork and work visa and all that stuff done. So hopefully both of these guys might even be able to see the field for us as early as Sunday against New York. There's maybe a 5% chance we can even see Cruz tomorrow night against Querétaro if his work visa comes in. And the reason that these visas may happen a little more quickly is they both had U.S. visitor visas, which are easier to convert to a work visa than having to start from scratch with the interview and the State Department and all that kind of stuff, which you can understand that the immigration process is extremely complicated over the last, 6 months.
What about other additions or other moves that you could see RSL engaging in this while the transfer window's open?
Yeah, look, Kurt Schmidt has until August 23rd. I think he and Pablo have talked about maybe adding some depth in the back line or maybe on the wing. I know Kurt's got a lot of irons in the fire, so maybe we'll get him on with you in the next week or two and talk about where that is as we maybe get a little closer to the close of the window and see what our roster is going to look like down the stretch.
I hope I asked this the right way, but is RSL a plug-and-play organization? I mean, in other sports, and I have a better understanding of other sports than I do of soccer, right? You have to make sure that whoever you bring in fits with the chemistry of the locker room, that they fit with the style of play, in this case with formation and how you plan to attack and things like that. In basketball, it's not in football. It's not always just about, all right, is this a good player and does he fit, because we need a forward. Let's go get a forward. Everyone's always trying to bring in the right guys, and the personalities in that locker room right now. How easy is it to fit other people in and make sure that that is the right guy for the situation that RSL has with, a team on the rise?
Yeah, that's a good question, right? Just like any interview process for any job, there's a lot of layers, and I know Pablo and his staff and Kurt and his staff, they all, they spend a lot of time talking to guys on Zoom, having multiple interviews with not just the player and his agent, but his current and former teammates, just trying to figure out that personality piece and figure out, how somebody's going to integrate. And sometimes you just don't know, and you think everything's perfect, and then they show up and it doesn't work out, but a lot of times it does. And we think, especially these two guys with what they've done in Europe and South America in their past careers, that they should be able to hopefully integrate quickly. And then, every coach will tell you, for these summer transfers, that when they have a good preseason with the team in January or February, that's really where they're able to kind of get into the nuance of the game model and all that stuff. But there's a universal aspect to the game that sometimes we all probably make a little too much out of some of that stuff.
From a team chemistry standpoint, is there anyone in this locker room right now who you're like, oh, that person is the one who's going to walk over, they're going to greet the new guys, they're going to be the ones that are like, hey, this is what Utah's about, this is what Sandy's about, this is what Salt Lake's about? Is there that ambassador type personality already in the locker room?
Sure, we're lucky we got a lot of those guys. Our goalkeeper, Rafa Cabral, is a big leader and a big captain. We've got 5 in the leadership group. That Emeka Nelly is another one of those guys. Justin Glad's been part of the club for 11 years. We got a lot of guys that are able to do that. Pablo Ruiz has been around. So, that's one of the things that makes my job a lot of fun and really easy is we have so many quality humans and people in our locker room that these new guys coming in, man, they are greeted like family. In fact, Cruz's agent told me the other day, he's like, look, I've been around a lot of clubs with a lot of different players, and nothing quite has the vibe that you guys have created. And, there's sometimes, I guess, at certain places, a standoffish attitude, right, for the new guys. And everybody's been really welcoming, even the guys that have to compete for jobs with the new guys.
What has the adjustment been like for the franchise now that, we are a growing sports market? There's a hockey team in town. In my opinion, the Jazz role in town has changed pretty drastically because of how bad the team is right now and, the ownership change and things like that. And, of course, when you're talking about the sports landscape of our state, RSL was like the Jazz were the first mover professional sports. RSL's been here a long time. Yeah. They're a well-established club. So what is the move? What's the adjustment to accommodate, the Mammoth, to accommodate the changing landscape with the Utah Jazz, to accommodate an eventual Major League Baseball team? It seems like that's probably an eventuality here. Like, where does the MLS and RSL specifically kind of fit into that picture? Because I know it doesn't just happen passively.
Yeah, no, look, I think 20 years ago when Dave Checketts brought RSL to town, very much the feeling was, hey, another professional organization, that rising tide lifts all boats. Our presence could enhance, the attractiveness of the Jazz and the college football scene and all that. And that's certainly how we have felt with, the Mammoth and hockey coming in. It's the best hockey league in the world, the NHL. And we're all sports fans, right? So seeing that, now with the Miller Group and Steve Starks kind of leading the charge and the Miller family, they're excited about baseball, which makes us excited about baseball, and having more facilities, more energy around professional sports and high-end entertainment. That's good for everything. And yeah, sure, I think there's a certain level of competition, right, for eyeballs, for fans, for butts in the seats, for corporate dollars, all that stuff. But we feel like we've carved out a great niche. We have 15,000 season ticket holders. We have a young, diverse audience. Soccer is going to get a massive jolt with the World Cup being here in North America next year, as you and I have talked about in the past. So it's just it's an extremely exciting time. We're all Jazz fans. We're all Mammoth fans. We're all Major League Baseball fans. I can't wait to go see my Giants come to town here in 4 or 5 years out there, hopefully off of North Temple, and enjoy a beer and a brat and take in some Major League Baseball.
Here's what I need. I need Mammoth sweater in the claret and cobalt, and I need an RSL shirt in the Mammoth blue. Like that, the little crossover. That's what we need, Trey.
Yeah, we actually had an item of the game probably right around the time Utah Hockey Club played its first game a little over a year ago, and those claret and cobalt hockey sweaters sold out in 20 minutes, I think, at our team store, 288 of them. So hopefully we can reissue that, because that was a really cool item, and people were pretty psyched to throw those on.
Yeah, it's a great idea to have that. Appreciate you giving us time whenever you're able. Thank you for today. We'll talk again soon.
Oh, see, we got to get you out to a game, man. So just let me know when you want to come get a press pass, sit on the sideline, and see how fast and strong and athletic these guys are.
Let's do it. All right, talk soon.
Yeah.
I do need to get out. I haven't been to a game this season, and you know how I am, James. If you start winning and you're playoff bound, I'm going to jump on the bandwagon. So absolutely.
Oh my gosh, we're in the playoffs. Soccer's a cool sport. Let's go. Yeah, absolutely. And I haven't been in a few years now to a game out in Sandy, so I definitely need to go back.
It's a great time. It is one of the things that we're very lucky for here in the state of Utah is like we've got these beautiful facilities that are relatively accommodating. There's ample parking near the stadium. There you can. It's not as painful to go to a game in Sandy or in Salt Lake at Rice Eccles or in Provo at Lavelle Edwards or obviously at the Delta Center. It's not nearly as painful as it is to get to some of those venues as it is like I reference it all the time, but living and working in the Bay Area, it's an undertaking to get to the Coliseum at the time. We were the Raiders flagship, to go to AT&T Park at the time, to get to a Giants game. It was a mess. It was a nightmare. I mean, it's like the traffic first, the lack of parking second, the expense of trying to park. The public transit is like kind of geared to help out, but not in a perfect way. So we're super lucky. And every time I go to Sandy, that's right across the street from my high school. So it's like, the old stomping grounds. It's great.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And another one, I was just talking with Smitty about this. He was telling me he was recently, this was a few weeks ago now, beginning of the month, he was at Wrigley for Cubs Red Sox. And he was talking about, the trains go right next to Wrigley, but like, it's still like, don't even bother driving. Like, we do not have that problem here along the Wasatch Front. So sometimes it's still frustrating, game day traffic, whatever. But like, we got to count our blessings with it. It's certainly a good spot for us to have all these teams and be able to get there relatively quickly. It's a good spot.
Not only do we need to get down to Sandy for an RSL game, we need to get out to Stansbury Park Golf Course. You know what? Clear your slate. Make it a plan for this weekend. Not that far away out in Tooele County, the historic golf cart, Stansbury Park Golf Course. They've really stepped up. There's water on almost every hole. The greens roll true. The layout, it's not the easiest course, I'll tell you. So you're going to get out there, and you're going to be playing with your buddies. It's going to provide you ample trash-talking opportunities. You're going to have a couple great shots, okay? You're going to stripe one right down the center of the fairway. You're going to feel good, and maybe the next shot goes into a water trap, and then it's your turn to take the ribbing. Either way, they're gearing you up for an incredible day of golf. No long waits, no overpriced green fees. It's pure golf 18 holes for $45 on weekdays, $50 on weekends, right off I-80. Super easy to get to. Should be your go-to spot out there in Tooele County at Stansbury Park Golf Course. Great rates, gorgeous greens, minutes away, totally worth it. Book your tee time now at stansburypark.gov/golf course. That's stansburypark.gov/golf course. Sean O'Connell Show continues on ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. Oh man, I think you know what? I think that ESPN's college football coverage, the website specifically, is going to lose me. I know there's a vested interest with ESPN and certain conferences over the Big 12, for example. You know, I'm a list guy. I'm a big-time list guy. Embarrassingly big-time list guy, quite frankly. The 40 most important players in college football in 2025 list. Not a single Big 12 player on it until they get down to the, okay, well, here's a category specifically for the Big 12, so they feel included.
I don't know how you can say they don't have enough of a vested interest in Big 12. You saw Matthew Berry at Big 12 Media Day. ESPN was there, right?
James, your sarcasm is not appreciated in this moment. The Big 12 is for the thought maker in sports right now, is an afterthought in the upcoming college football season. Now, there are reasons for that it go beyond the network affiliation with these conferences, and there's just, you know, there's the financial issue here that creates a real gap for college football fans and, more importantly, the college football programs in the Big 12 conference. Like a real, actual, you don't have the same starting point as other teams have kind of gap. The salary cap that effectively has been implemented by the revenue share is completely meaningless. Doesn't do a dang thing to close the gap, to even the playing field, to level the playing field. There was, the College Sports Commission had all of 2 weeks where it looked like they were actually going to enforce some things. And then they were just like, just kidding, never mind. And it's the powers that be and the billions of dollars associated with the powers that be made that determination, and I found it very predictable. However, the only way out of it is you have to have teams do what like Boise State did last year, right? Where nobody wants on the network level, nobody wants to pay attention to Boise State at the level that the Broncos got attention paid to them last year. It was Ashton Genty. It was a good coaching job. It was solid play from the rest of that team that forced people to be like, wow, okay, I mean, this is a playoff team. And yes, it's a playoff team because of the rules of the new expanded college football playoff, meaning that a group of 5 champion was going to be allowed into the college football playoff, and then the rules made it so that the debate centered around, well, whether or not they deserve to have a bye, which, I mean, I guess at the end of the day, Arizona State lost their game after the bye, and Boise State lost their game after the bye, and so you can look back and say they didn't deserve that spot. Well, Ohio State didn't even win their conference championship and ended up winning the national championship. So the whole deserve conversation around the college football playoff is something that gets a little bit convoluted. But this Big 12 conference is in such a dire strait right now when it comes to the perception around college football that we've been geared as a people and as individuals, don't care what other people think about you. What other people think about you is not what matters. It's your character. It's your actions. It's like, okay, yes, from an individual level, that's probably still true. But what people think of your conference and what people think of the universities in that conference and what people think of the competitiveness of the conference and whether or not the conference is capable of producing elite competitors for the national championship, that is something that matters. It's not just opinion. It is something that translates to concrete differences in the competitive playing field. If the Big 12 conference continues to be looked at the way the Pac-12 conference was looked at for several years, the fate of the Big 12 conference will probably be the same as the fate of the Pac-12 conference. And there's not an immediate danger for that, but the here and now is what we need to talk about, because SEC and Big Ten powers are already trying to manipulate whatever the next college football playoff iteration looks like. They're already trying to say, well, we get 5 bids, they get 5 bids. We get 4 bids, they get 4 bids, you get 2 bids. And that's where the gap widens. And Clemson is kind of doing the thing, and Miami are kind of doing the thing in the ACC that somebody in the Big 12 Conference needs to do. Has not done yet. Maybe it'll be Arizona State. Maybe it'll be Utah. Perhaps BYU can make this leap. Kansas State, good luck. Iowa State, sorry, you haven't won a conference championship since World War I. It's not going to happen for you, most likely. But what you're seeing from Miami and from Clemson and, well, because of the money from SMU, is they're kind of inserting themselves into the national conversation despite the public opinion of the ACC. The public opinion of the ACC is not widely different than that of what people think of the Big 12, but Clemson is given this credit as an outlier. But, yeah, we know that their investment and their talent and their homegrown talent sometimes, by the way, and their coaching puts them in a conversation for a national championship. There's not a single person, the websites reflect it now. There's not a person that we have talked to that believes that the Big 12 Conference has a national championship contender. You will hear people say Clemson could do it this year. Fewer people, but some will say Miami is a dark horse, an outlier in that conversation. Try to find me someone nationally who's willing to say Arizona State could win the national championship, or Kansas State could win the national championship, or that Utah will be in the conversation for the national championship. You will not find a single person. And by the way, that wasn't even a problem the Pac-12 conference had, because the Pac-12 conference had people talk about USC in that regard every single year, even when it was totally unjustified. USC was given that benefit of the doubt for a decade of mediocrity in the Pac-12 conference because they are USC. And then Oregon inserted themselves into that conversation toward the tail end. And, of course, the very last year of the conference existence, Washington, boom, in the national championship game.
But and Oregon was in that, as you said, they were in that conversation that last season as well. A few years ago, Washington beat them in the Pac-12 championship game for last year of the 14 playoff. They didn't have a chance to prove it.
And what you have in the SEC is you have people saying, well, there's 6 teams that could win not just the SEC championship, but if you can do that, you can win a national championship. And in the Big Ten, hey, you got Ohio State, you got Penn State, you got Michigan. Like, these teams could win a national championship. Notre Dame, because of who Notre Dame is, gets that credit. And I already told you about the ACC teams. Like, as we get, we're 25 days away from the season kicking off. You're 25 days away from either a step forward for the Big 12 Conference or a long, drawn-out, slow bleed beginning for the Big 12 Conference as they try to remain competitive against the juggernauts that are SEC and Big Ten conferences and the individuals in those conferences and Notre Dame, and the eventual decision made about what the reconstructed college football playoff is going to look like. Brett Yormark has said, give us the 5-11, because I think we could have 2 or 3 teams every year. Well, guess what? I'm looking at ESPN's every list that they make. Go for the 3 guaranteed spots if you can get them. Go for the 2 guaranteed spots if you can get them, because the preseason coaches poll and the AP poll is going to be reflective of this as well. Your best team is going to come in somewhere between 10 and 15, and the rest of them are going to be 20 to 25. And that's the perception problem that you have, that, yes, you can fight against and you can disprove through your performance on the field. But do we realize that it's only getting more and more difficult as the years go by? So the level playing field of level-ish, it's never been truly level, but the more level playing field of 5 years ago still has some effect on what your team is today. If you go another 5 years without teams really making their case at a national championship, what happens? Well, decisions are made to disband a conference, to continue to bolster and boost the revenues and widen the gap that you then don't have any control over. So, like, the University of Washington in that last year of the Pac-12's existence, if that had happened 5 years sooner, if that had happened 3 years sooner, if that had happened one other time, meaning Oregon doesn't lose to Arizona State before they beat Utah in the Pac-12 championship game, or Utah beats Oregon in that Pac-12 championship game and is in the college football playoff, or USC just in any of those years acts like they're USC and makes decisions like they're USC, we're having a completely different conversation. The window is closing. We got 25 days between now and the college football season kicking off. A college football season in which the national landscape predicts the best team in your conference is going to be right on the borderline of even making a playoff. Not the best team in your conference could be the best team in the country. Not a single damn person thinks that outside of the Big 12 footprint. And most people in the Big 12 footprint don't think it. And I'm saying this even as I tell you, I don't think the Big 12 conference is fielding a national championship contender this year. It's going to get harder next year and harder the year after that and harder again and harder again and harder again and harder again until something happens where maybe some of your teams get invited to be part of the next iteration. Not all of them, some of them. And please, please, please let Utah be one of them. It's crazy that we're 25 days away from this insanely important season, and I, like everyone else, is just like, well, let's get to the football. I want to see the football. The football scares me too. As much as I'm excited about it, if your conference champ is a 3-loss team, like I think they will be, it's rough.
Yeah, it's going to be an even steeper climb. That perception, that climb to good national perception is going to be even steeper if that's the case. So you got to, if you're a Utah fan, if you're a BYU fan, if you're a fan of a team in the Big 12, if you want the Big 12 to stick around, you better hope that the champion is an undefeated team or a 1-loss team, which, like you said, probably not happening this year, and that there's another 1-loss team that meets them in the conference championship game, or undefeated, or 2 undefeated teams, because that's the only way Big 12 makes any gains this year, OC, is if you somehow get more than one team in the playoff, and you're not doing that with a bunch of teams with 2 or 3 losses near the top. As competitive as that is, as entertaining as that is, more entertaining than most years in recent years in the Big Ten and SEC, the perception's going to be, well, because you don't have a dominant team, your conference altogether must be mediocre.
You know what's really crazy? As I'm thinking about this, and I'm saying, okay, well, who is that outlier Washington team from the Pac-12's final year? Who's a team that's got a great coach and an experienced quarterback and a bunch of veterans on the offensive line? Utah checks those boxes. That's what Washington was. It's not the only way to win.
Big difference there is Penix had, was it just the 1 year? Yeah, one other year at Washington with that coaching staff. This is obviously new to the program quarterback, but he is
same
not
offense, same coordinator.
Same offense, not a new quarterback in college football.
Now, there's some important differences between Utah and that Washington team, right? That team had Rome Odunze, Jalen McMillan. That team had one of the best wide receiving cores in the entire country. So many
good receivers. So fun to watch.
They were so good, right? They were unbelievable.
But
that was a team, though, that was like, they had a bunch of guys that could have gone to the NFL that decided to come back to try and chase a national championship.
They were 1 or 2 losses away the year before from doing so, yeah.
So that was a team that, again, there's some important differences. But I look at Iowa State, I look at Rocco Becht, I look at Matt Campbell, I look at them bringing a lot of talent back, but like there's just not a
you could say
direct analog.
You could say Arizona State, except we don't know if we don't know. I think it's fair to ask: is Kenny Dillingham able to sustain the success as a head coach longer than just 1 year, because he still is so new?
I think he's going to have more than 1 year. I just don't know that. Like, I think Kenny Dillingham is a really, really good coach, but Kenny Dillingham as a head coach has not had to do the thing that he's going to have to do this year, where you lose your best player and then you're expected to perform at or better than you did the year before that. And by the way, they lost their best offensive lineman also. Like, Arizona State brings back a ton on both sides of the ball. They bring back a ton of things, but 2 of the 4 most important players on the entire team are gone. So, all right, did we bring in something in the transfer portal to replace that? Did we bring in something from high school recruiting to replace that? Maybe. Arizona State kind of checks that box. Less established of a coaching history, like you said. But, man, there's just – and look, there's other ways to skin a cat. Here.
Yeah.
It's that you don't have to be Washington in order to have that outlier season. You don't have to look exactly like Washington. But you do have to have a good coach. You have to have a good offensive line, and you have to have a quarterback who could do special things.
Yeah, and, that seems to be the quickest way to do it anyway. The most obvious way to connect those dots is by looking at those 3 areas: the head coach, the quarterback, offensive line. I would say Kansas State somewhat fits that model too with Avery Johnson. He's still got to prove that he's just like we talked about. Just like we talked about with Devin Dampier, he's got to probably even more so. He's got to prove that he's not just a runner, but he's now a veteran quarterback who's had a lot of hype and had shown some good moments, good team around him. That Kansas State could be that, but that's what we've been talking about. You've been rightfully comparing the Big 12 to what the Pac-12 was for so many years. Parity conference does not help the national perception.
It's so much more fun to watch week in and week out until you get to the end of the season, and then you're not part of the big party. Like week 7, when the Big 10 has one matchup that you think might actually be a good game, you're like, oh, we have 5 of those.
Yeah,
in the Big 12. When the SEC in week 10 is playing a bunch of nobodies at the Citadel and Tecumseh State or whatever, you're just like, all right, well, we have good games here. We don't know who's going to win this BYU Kansas game. We don't know who's going to win the game between Utah and UCF or whatever. It is different, but then you get left out of the party at the end of the year that everyone wants to be in. That's the hard part. All right, we got to take a break. We'll wrap it up with giving away some tickets on the other side. The Sean O'Connell Show comes to an end in about 7 minutes on ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. Sean O'Connell Show, wrapping things up, 877-353-0700. We've got tickets to give away. All-time lows coming to the Union October 16th. We were talking about the over-under I set today, 2,999.5. So effectively, do you think Utah's passing offense gives you 3,000 or more yards this year? You take the over or the under. 877-353-0700. Not to tell me that. You can tweet at me at Real OC Sports. But to answer this question, last season, 2024, Utah's first foray into the Big 12 Conference, their passing offense generated 2,393 yards. Good enough for what ranking in the Big 12 Conference? Where did 2393 put Utah amongst the teams of the Big 12 Conference in 2024? 877-353-0700 for 2 tickets to All-Time Low, which is an appropriate band, actually, for this ranking. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Spence Checketts in the drive coming up next. Hey, Spence.
Is it last in the conference?
No.
Was it close to last?
It was very close to last.
Was it next to last?
It was very close to that.
Okay, fair enough. It's an interesting number. Because
it was 15th, yes. I
15th.
just wanted to make sure that we got the correct answer.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting number because I have the stats from last year pulled up. So if we go off of 2,999 yards,
yeah,
and I only have individual quarterbacks, to your point, maybe they're halfback passes, some QB, flea flickers, double
like a backup
reverses.
comes in because someone lost a helmet. Yeah,
Sure. So last year, Noah Fafita, 2,958 yards. Jake Retzlaff, 2,947 yards. The quarterbacks just over 3,000. The Mendoza kid from Cal. Even when you look at Sam Levitt, 2,885 yards. So
yeah.
I hate to continue to be this guy. I will smash the under once again. Because we did the wide receivers yesterday, over under, I think, like 700? And now passing yards right under 3,000.
Which would put them at number 9 in the conference.
Okay, which shouldn't be too much to ask.
It's 600 something more than you had last year.
Mm-hmm.
And it is an improvement of roughly 250 yards over what New Mexico's offense was last year, because you have to look at both, right? Your coordinator, your quarterback are coming from New Mexico, and that offense should be somewhat similar to what you're looking at. So, yeah, Arizona as a team, 2,975 passing yards last year. BYU as a team, 3,007 passing yards last year. And as you mentioned, that was not all Jake Retzlaff. That's like, that means some garbage time numbers, or like Chase Roberts threw a pass or something like that. So Kansas State was a good team who was below that line, and Arizona State was a good team who was barely above that line. BYU was a good team who was barely above that line. There were some teams that weren't great in the conference that were way above the line. So, again, these numbers are not just like, well, does it make you win?
Mm-hmm.
It's you look at the whole picture, and knowing Utah's rushing offense should be pretty good this year. How many passing yards do you need? 3,000 felt like a good over-under to set. Take the over, take the under. One way or another, we're going to figure it out in 25 days.
Last year, Devin Dampier, 48th in the country in passing yards, 2,768, right ahead of Garbers, the kid from UCLA. You know what? I'm going to spray a little sunshine on the show. I'm going to say over.
Okay,
Yeah.
I like that.
Because the way you outlined it, as far as the incremental improvements, and maybe it's PTSD, the offense, so many moments last year that felt so anemic. Just slight improvements all the way around, including, O-line. I'm still concerned about the wide receivers. Devin and his familiarity with Coach Beck. I'm going to take the over today on a Tuesday. Why
That
not?
over, by the way, if we're just talking about Devin Dampier's number, that over is like an extra 2 or 3 first downs a game in the passing game.
Yeah.
Which obviously changed the whole landscape of Utah's season last year.
For sure.
If you compare that number, even if we just took Devin's number from last year, if you give this Utah passing offense 2768 instead of 2393, now we're talking about 3 or 4 first downs per game extra in the passing game. This was a team that was 5 touchdowns away from being a 10-win team. So you're really like, just that incremental improvement can change the whole landscape of your season.
should be doable based off of how you've kind of broken it down with just small improvements here or there. AP poll Monday of next week. Utah, if you kind of add it up for the coaches poll, 30th.
30th, yeah.
Other receiving votes. Others receiving votes. Do you think they're higher in the AP poll? Because the AP poll actually contains voters that pay attention.
Yeah.
I actually texted a coach a couple years ago in state, and I said, off the record, have you ever filled out your coach's top 25 poll? And he said, absolutely not.
No, it's my SID.
Yeah. Or, or even
some
like an intern. I
Yeah.
feel like at this point, it's even gone past the SID. Our guy Paul doesn't have time for this.
Yeah, you're right. It's probably like the dude cutting practice film.
Yeah. Yep. Paul's too busy organizing interviews in front of the jugs machine. He has no time ranking the top 25 teams.
Hey,
in the
that's
coaches
Keeler's
poll.
job now. That's our guy Junk.
Well, then, Junk, come on, man. I only do my diatribe once a year. As soon as we play sound on the show and I hear that damn machine in the background, I'm considering writing a strongly worded letter to Taylor Randall.
It's actually a perfect storm of noise because there's these stairs where all the players are going up and getting their nutrition, and they're yelling and talking to each other. That's right behind you, and then off to your right is the lineup of jugs machines.
Do you think they're trolling us?
Cacophony.
Do you think they're doing this intentionally?
I don't think so.
All
I
right.
know it's.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay, fair enough. So it's not going to stop.
They used to do the golf cart, not the golf cart. They're called Gators. They're like the John Deere 6-wheeled thing.
Yeah.
They would just drive it behind wherever you're. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
It's not an accident.
Well, we are a audio medium, so it doesn't look great for us. It's one thing if you can have video of the players and edit sound, but we're a radio station, so you listen to the audio we play, and it's quite distracting, but I only do the diatribe once a year, and so far I'm like 0 for 15.
It's kind of a comfort thing now. I like it. You know what I
You
mean?
do
It's
not like it.
It's like, wait, what did he say? What did he say?
So
What did he say? I like it.
It's obnoxious, but what are you going to do?
I think Utah will be similarly placed somewhere between like 24 and 30 by the AP. There are AP writers, like you said, who pay a little bit more attention and also who are going to be reliant on like Vegas and see like what do they think.
Yeah.
And that might elevate Utah a little bit. But there's just I just went on a rant about this. There is very little respect for even the top teams in the Big 12 Conference, and Utah is not universally expected to be that this year.
Yep.
So it's going to be Arizona State, 10 or lower, and everyone else following behind them.
Any thoughts on the lack of pushback on BYU, despite the quarterback situation being in the top 25, or is that about where you thought they'd be?
No, I mean, I think I've said this. I've upset people by saying this. I think BYU doesn't lose all that much with Jake Retzlaff being gone.
I agree.
I just think they're a good team for other reasons. I have as big a question about whether their offensive line is good as about whether the quarterback situation is good. You're going to find someone who can give you 57% completions or whatever Jake had last year and be the 11th best quarterback in the conference. They're like, if it's Bear Bachmeier or it's Bourget or if it's McKay Hillstead, that guy is not going to be put in a situation where it's like, hey, go win us these games with your arm. Go win us these games with your dynamism. They're going to be like, look, we have two really, really good running backs, and we have a defense that creates problems for everybody. Don't screw this up for us, first-year starter.
Yeah, well said. No notes, as the kids say, Sean. No notes.
Stay tuned for The Drive with Spence Checketts. Thanks for tuning in to the Sean O'Connell Show. Let's do it again tomorrow on Utah's #1 sports talk, ESPN 700, 92.1 FM.